For the first time this season, the Washington & Lee football team takes to Wilson Field as the Generals host the Newport News Apprentice School Builders here on Young Alumni Weekend in Lexington. We say hello and welcome to Wilson Field on the campus of Washington & Lee University here in Lexington, Virginia. Thanks so much for joining us on the Washington & Lee Sports Network alongside former punter and kicker of the Washington & Lee football team, Andrew Arnold. I'm Ryan Connell. And Andrew, a great afternoon here for some football, the home opener for the Washington & Lee Generals here in 2024.
Yeah, great to be back here. Great to be able to see this team come out, open their home season so early, and try to start to make a stand for themselves after a disappointing week one.
The Generals played Salisbury on the road last Saturday in Maryland. It did not go in favor of the Generals. They lost 48-26 at the hands of the Seagulls as Salisbury had 617 total yards of offense. The Generals had themselves a good offensive day too, 560 yards, including 340 on the ground, but some trouble and converting third downs and some big plays by the Seagulls offense really doomed Washington & Lee.
Yeah, when you look at the stats, it's kind of what you expect from the Generals offense. Going to dominate time of possession, going to have a lot of rushing yards, and that's exactly the formula for the Generals to win. But as you look at on the other side there for the Seagulls, just not a great defensive day for the Generals. Clearly just not on the same page on a lot of miscues. And when you're letting a team be 7-10 on third down, on the money down, can't get off the field, it's going to be a really tough day. So really looking for the Generals defense today to start to get their footing and start to find ways to execute a little better, especially on third down.
First collegiate start for sophomore quarterback Ty Collins in that game last week for Washington. He went 11 of 16 through the air for 120 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He also had 9 carries for 25 yards, and his biggest play, a 47-yard touchdown pass to Andrew Bland. So the Generals were able to throw the ball a little bit more effectively in week one against the Seagulls, almost because their hand was a little bit forced there, but still rushed effectively. Jacob Romero, 26 carries for 121 on the ground, and when number 10 and White's getting that many touches, good things are eventually going to happen.
Yeah, the running game's kind of a constant for the Generals offense over the past few years, but this wide receiving core that's kind of been together for a little bit now, Ian Evans, Andrew Bland, Dryden Duggins, Generals have some weapons at wide receiver that they maybe haven't always had in that position, especially when it comes to experience on the field. So definitely maybe are going to be looking to do it a little more through the air than maybe in past years.
Some key returners back for Washington Lee this year. Starts with the all-region running back Jacob Romero. Rushed for over 1,000 yards last year at 1,093 yards and 8 touchdowns on 226 carries for Washington Lee. Jack Johnson, the leading returning tackler, and second-team All-ODAC selection at safety for Washington Lee. First-team All-Conference members Will Mahmood coming off the edge for the Generals, and Tucker Jacobson anchoring that offensive line at left tackle.
Yeah, looking for Will Mahmood and Jack Johnson to continue to step into a bigger role for this defense. Just talked about how defense needs to tighten it a little up after game one, and Jacob Romero, what an impact playmaker on offense. Tucker Jacobson paving the way for him, but Jacob Romero poised to have just a huge year, so some big expectations for that guy.
And a lot of returning experience on that offensive line. We talked about Ty Collins making his first collegiate start last Saturday, so some younger guys at some of the skill positions, but experience at running back, experience at wide receiver, as you mentioned, but also an experienced offensive line. Jacobson, Kalen Graham, Tyler Holliday, Harrison Donovan, Michael Dangler, Tommy Holstead, Colton Ballman, Wesley Howenstein, Mason Ryan, all guys who got at least more than half the games last year are back again this year. So any combination of those 5 are people that have experience and have done it effectively.
Yeah, talking about experience, Tyler Halliday in his 5th year, obviously a very experienced guy. And when you have that kind of depth on the offensive line, it can make your team that much stronger, especially being a running team as the Generals are. But throughout the course of the season, guys are going to go down with injuries, guys are going to get dinged up, might have to miss a game. So when you can have that kind of depth and have guys behind the starting guys who are ready and have already played big minutes, it's just a big comfort and kind of boost for a coach to know that you have those guys just waiting in the wings there.
Last year, an 8-3 season for Washington, only a postseason bowl game appearance in the first ever Cape Charles Bowl that was played here in Lexington last November. Andrew, you were a member of the Generals just last season. It was a successful year for Washington. Obviously, a bitter end of the year with how kind of that game ended and, coming up short in the bowl game, but an 8-3 season, a lot to still be proud of as you carry that into this year.
Oh, 8-3 was definitely a big year, and it's the kind of year where it leaves you wanting a little bit more. This team would have been the first Generals team to reach 9 wins before, would have been the first Generals team to get a postseason win as well, had that bowl game gone a different way. So definitely a lot to work towards and a lot to have their sights on for the Generals coming into this season.
Yeah, the Chesapeake Challenge was a bowl series launched last year between the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the Landmark Conference. The Landmark went 2-0 last year. Washington Lee fell to Lycoming 20-17 in the Cape Charles Bowl, and then in the Cape Henry Bowl, Wilkes defeated Bridgewater by a final score of 35-17. As we kind of look around the conference this year, Washington Lee picked second in the ODAC preseason poll behind defending conference champs Randolph-Macon, who had themselves quite a run last year as well. They went all the way to the national semifinals of the Division III football playoffs. The Generals got 43 points, including 1 first-place vote. Conference play starts in just about 3 weeks' time, where the Generals will kick off conference play at home against Everett on Parents Weekend on October 5th at 5 o'clock. But WNL returns a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. We talked about the 5 starters on the offensive line, 9 all-conference players back again this year, and a lot of faces that were used quite a bit last year.
And you got ODAC Rookie of the Year, Anthony Crawford, as you see on your screen right there, another guy right behind Romero, who is going to make a big impact this season. A lot of expectations for him. When it comes to Randolph-Macon, they're always kind of the top dog in the conference. The Generals get to see him at home this year, so kind of one of those games where you just want to see how it breaks. Obviously a very good team, so I think with the expanded playoff this year, I think the Generals are really following that bowl game loss last year. Big emphasis, try to get in the playoff, try to get a postseason win, do something that this program's never done before.
Yeah, that is, I think, a big point of emphasis. I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew. Just the expanded playoff going from 32 teams to 40 teams at the Division III level. That allows for 8 more at-large selections to get first-round games. And so for a team like Washington Lee, who was 8-2 at the end of the regular season last year, and perhaps, amongst those 10 teams considering for the last 4 or 5 spots, that expands that opportunity for teams that were in a similar position to now get into the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, no need to rub it in. Could have been there last year, but yeah, I mean, last year's a perfect example. The 2 losses to ranked opponents, you're having a pretty good shot at vying for that at-large bid, and that's what the Generals are going to try to do this year.
As for the builders of the Newport News Apprentice School, they kicked off their 2024 campaign with a 44-9 win against Southern Virginia at home last Saturday. The builders got a lot of offensive production from on both sides of the ball. They ran the ball effectively and threw it effectively. Grant Swanger, the senior quarterback from Chesapeake, Virginia, was 7 of 14 for 123, but he threw for 4 touchdowns, including 3 to T.K. Petty, a junior wide receiver from Norfolk, who tied the single-game program record for touchdowns in a game. He had 3 catches. All of them were scores.
Yeah, and I mean, 4 passes being for touchdowns of your 7 total completions. That's an unbelievable stat line. Definitely a result that raises some eyebrows. In the past, the Builders have been a school that the Generals have not had very much trouble with, but you see that result right there. That's kind of a result you would expect the Generals to have versus Southern Virginia. Definitely raises some eyebrows. It definitely gives the Generals maybe need to take this opponent a little more seriously than previous years.
And one of the big points, too, was they have a tandem in their backfield of 2 freshmen that were really impactful running the ball for Apprentice. Last year, the Apprentice school averaged just over 143 rushing yards per game. Well, in their opener against SVU, they ran for 304 with Ty Taylor and Kamari Moore each rushing for over 125 yards each. Taylor had 152 on 21 carries, while Moore had 127 yards on 17 carries and also had a touchdown. So a tandem in the backfield that has added a different dimension to this Builders offense.
Yeah, and that's something that Jack Johnson's going to have to focus on today for the Generals defense, making sure that when those guys get to the second level, because they are so explosive, that you can wrap them up and try to prevent some of those really explosive big plays.
Grant Swanger, we talked about him, the senior quarterback, was with the program in 2021, was away from the program the last 2 years, returns to the Builders program this year, gets the starting quarterback job. He takes over for Mason Tatum, who had been really running the show for Apprentice the last couple of years. Tatum threw for 5,400 yards and 45 touchdowns over his career with the Builders. He had a couple of USCAA All-American citations as well. So to replace somebody like that, Swanger, obviously big shoes to fill, but a good start to the season for him against SVU.
Yeah, excellent start to the season. And whenever you're looking at the roster and you see sheet metal worker right under the name, that's a guy you got to take seriously. And that's something the Builders have, kind of that grittiness to them. They're always a team that can bring some size in different parts, especially in the trenches. So they're a team that can beat you up and a team that you really have to execute against if you want to get a good result.
We'll shift a little bit away from today's game. The other events going on here at the university this weekend. It's Young Alumni Weekend here at Washington, Lee, and we have a young alumni in the booth here with us, class of 2024, Andrew Arnold. Andrew, you were part of the football team over your last couple of years here at WNL. Obviously, you graduated just this past May. A big member of the WNL Sports Network as well throughout your time here in Lexington. Just talk a little bit about your WNL experience and now being able to return to campus on the other side of things.
Yeah, it feels really cool. It's fun to be able to come up here on a Saturday and get to watch all the guys go out there and play. Really awesome time joining the football team. Just one of the highlights of my college experience. And the year before that, stepping into the broadcasting, it's been a ton of fun. Feels really great. I texted Ryan back in middle of August saying, hey, I'll be back in town. Can I get on a game? Was definitely one of the first things on my mind when I knew I'd be coming back to Lexington. It's great to be back here. Great to catch up with a lot of the guys and hoping for a big Generals win here today.
Obviously, joining the football team was part of your experience here. What would you say was your top moment, perhaps, of being a member of the football team?
Top moment's a pretty easy one. It would have to come from week 1 versus Salisbury last year.
Obviously, you're fired up because you're a part of the play, but just seeing people from the sideline knowing the play call ahead of time that it was going to be a fake punt, and then seeing the opportunity open up on that side of the field, get the first down, keep the drive alive, and just seeing that reaction from everyone on the sideline was definitely something when watching it back the other day where maybe I didn't realize in real time, but watching it back and seeing, wow, like I hope Andrew knows how much everyone else was fired up about that play too.
No, it felt really cool. Definitely running back over to the sideline, I didn't even know what to do. I was kind of just in shock after the hit. Heart was beating fast, really excited. The play didn't really execute as how it was supposed to. We were supposed to get, if we had a number advantage look on the left side, we were going to immediately check to that fake, kind of knowing that that was a game where we might have to make up some ground, have an exciting play like that. And I was supposed to be able to go on the outside, and they were going to seal the block in, and you'll see Randolph Smith there kind of just pushes him out, so I end up having to kind of go inside, hit a hole.
You read the hole.
I did. Just something about those football instincts, and trust me, the coaches, heard about it for the rest of the year at practice when I was saying, ready to go, guys. But yeah, definitely was really exciting, and coming in the meeting room and hearing them say, all right, here's what we're doing on the fake punts, here's what we're installing, and just to have the coaches put that kind of trust in me as a second-year ever football player, first ever start, first ever punt attempt, was a pretty cool moment.
Definitely something that I hope sticks with you, especially as you grow further and further away from your time at WNL, is one of those things that you remember most about not only being on a part of the football team, but also your time here at WNL, working for the WNL Sports Network, too, giving you plenty of opportunities to do a lot of broadcasting throughout your time here. Now, what are you doing in your professional life since graduation?
Yeah, I work for Fidelity Investments as a financial representative, help clients who come in have anything from a password reset to needing to, do some different financial planning. Been working on my licensing exams and just still get to interact with a lot of people. Really enjoy just kind of that face-to-face interaction piece, and it's been a really good experience so far. So really enjoying it. Adult life isn't so bad for anyone else maybe listening on the younger end, and it's really just good to come back here and get relive all the memories for a weekend as well.
It's definitely one of those things where it takes a little adjustment period, and I know we talked about it a little bit before we went on the air here about just how you've been acclimating to life, post graduation. There's definitely a few things that change, but being able to be back on campus this early in the year, I think too, makes it feel like you're not that far removed.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, driving back here yesterday, it felt like I was just coming back to school because that's around this time of year. This is when I'm coming back, and versus I guess with the football team we're back in early August, so these guys have been here already for 5-6 weeks, but it definitely felt a lot of the good memories coming back. Good to see the mountains, good to see the campus, beautiful campus, and fortunately we have a very beautiful day today for football as well.
Just a few clouds in the sky, but mostly sunny. Temperatures going to reach up to about 80 degrees, I think, later this afternoon. So not bad for the middle of September here in the Shenandoah Valley. We're still about 15 minutes or so away from kickoff between Washington and Lee and the Apprentice School here in the 2024 home opener for the WNL football team. Ryan Connell and Andrew Arnold with you on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. Andrew, we talked a little bit about it before, but what Washington and Lee brings back this year, what are some of the, I guess maybe perhaps a little bit of an inside look to the program as someone who's been a part of that, maybe a few people who either last year or to start this year you think are ready to break out and really make a difference for this Washington and Lee squad?
Yeah, I think Anthony Crawford's definitely a name you got to highlight there, the rising sophomore, kind of joining a pretty consistent line of some pretty phenomenal running backs Washington and Lee's been blessed to have in recent years, from Josh Brees to Alex Wirtz and Jacob Romero, obviously, as we also mentioned. So, kind of him being next in line to really take over some of the bulk running duties you'd think next year. He's a guy that, I think the team's pretty excited about. Definitely had his own issues freshman year, as anyone does, kind of growing into college football and, learning how to make sure he holds on to the football and everything like that. And, he's a hard worker. Will be one of the first guys out there. Huge Philly sports fan as well. Always love chopping up with him about that. But excited for him to hopefully, continue to take a step forward this year and then kind of grow into taking over that role into his junior and senior year. On
the defensive side of things, a lot of returners for Washington and Lee. The linebacking trio, Will Mood, Jalen Todd, and Uno Christopher. Full returning start in secondary from a year ago, and Connor O'Malley, Jack Johnson, Charlie Fleming, Alan Hager. Anyone on the defensive end that perhaps, maybe not necessarily a starter, but someone that works themselves into the rotation and makes an impact that maybe doesn't show up in the stat sheet?
Yeah, I think Jersey Alantini's a big guy that the coaches usually have a lot of faith in. They like to bring him in on some different looks at linebacker, and he's a guy that kind of, I wouldn't say lives in the shadow of anybody, but when you're looking at the linebacking core, you're talking about an Uno Christopher, you're talking about a Jalen Todd, and I think Jersey Alantini, definitely a guy that maybe doesn't get as much of the praise, but is always on cue in practice, is always out there kind of just doing the right thing, can lay a good hit. Had a couple sacks last year, kind of coming off the backside, has some really quick speed, and is a guy that you might not expect to get as much pressure on the quarterback from kind of a size perspective, but he can really get downfield and lay a hit.
Just about 10 minutes from kickoff here between Washington and Lee and the Apprentice School in the 2024 home opener for the WNL football team. We will step aside here for the national anthem. When we come back, we'll get you the starting lineups and the coin toss and the kickoff coming up here in just a few minutes right here on the Washington and Lee Sports Network.
Numerous family members who've been taken away from heart disease and stroke. That drove me to pursue knowledge about health and well-being. Playing college football gave me an opportunity to get myself into college.
Goes to Parks. He's in the end zone.
That's when I decided that I want to go into personal trainer. I felt I would have a great opportunity to share my knowledge about well-being within Detroit. I hope to reach as many people as I can.
Fans at this time, we ask that you please rise and face the flag in the north end zone as we honor America with the playing of the national anthem.
Welcome back to Wilson Field here on the campus of Washington and Lee University as we're just a few minutes away from kickoff between the builders of Apprentice and the Generals of Washington and Lee. Time to meet the starting lineups, and we will start with Apprentice as Grant Swanger, the senior quarterback, leads the offense for the Builders. Ty Taylor, the running back. Wide receivers McKeegan Piorkowski, Eduardo Rios, and T.K. Petty. Cameron Liufau is the tight end. Hayden Moody, Gabe Sheffield, Alden Custer, Jack Klimmerman, and Nathan Jedlick across the offensive line from left to right. As for the Builders defensively, a 3-4 look with Darius Carney, Rashard Phipps, and Adonis Watson on the defensive line. Jaysean Miller-Arrington, Chase Gaines, Wilberto Sanchez, and Benny Nina, the linebacking core. Kamari Trueblood, Jyshawn Jackson, Sincere Hawkins, and Xavier Hunter are the secondary for the Builders, as head coach Vincent Brown, in his 4th season in charge of the Apprentice School, a 16-14 record for the former defensive lineman who played at both Memphis and Morgan State and grew up in Lynchburg. As for Washington and Lee, the Generals led by sophomore quarterback Ty Collins, who makes his 2nd collegiate start. And it's senior running back and captain Jacob Romero, slot backs Marcus Payne and Josh Garcia, tight end Evan Novak, and wide receiver Ian Evans. Left to right across the offensive line is Tucker Jacobson, Kalen Graham, Mason Ryan, Tyler Holiday, and Harrison Donovan. As for the WNL defense, junior captain Will Knight, O'Keefe McKinney, Malik Hardy, and Jimmy Bailey, the defensive line. The linebacking core of Will Mahmood, Jalen Todd, and Captain Uno Christopher. And the secondary for the Generals, Connor O'Malley, Jack Johnson, Charlie Fleming, and Alan Hagler. Head coach Garrett LaRose in his 6th season in charge of his alma mater with a 32-20 record for the 2021 ONAC Coach of the Year, as the Generals take the field here for the first time in 2024. Some representation of all the different places in which WNL is from as they take the field. State flags for a lot of the different states represented by the Washington Lee football team, as the Generals in their home blue jerseys take to the Wilson Field for the first time here in 2024. Nice crowd on hand for Young Alumni Weekend, as you can hear the cowbells and cheers from the home sideline. Uno Christopher, Jacob Romero, and Will Knight to walk out for the coin toss for Washington and Lee. Emmanuel Patterson, Chase Gaines, Hayden Moody, and Xavier Hunter. 4 captains out there for the Apprentice School. So for the coin toss at midfield. Washington and Lee dropped its opening game of the season to Salisbury 48-26. Apprentice beat Southern Virginia 44-9. So both teams looking to get back on the right page. For Apprentice, just keep the good things rolling. You beat SVU last weekend at home. Can you keep that and take that on the road? For Washington Lee, can you get back on track after a disappointing start to your 2024 campaign?
Yeah, and it makes me think about the last time Apprentice came to Lexington. I was actually on the call for the game. The only other football game I've actually announced for the Generals, having played the following 2 years, but it was kind of a sleepy day in Lexington, and the Generals really let the Builders hang around in that game. It was a 21-point fourth quarter that really made the score a lot more lopsided, but going into that fourth, it was 17-10, so it was a pretty close game the last time the Builders were down here in Lexington. It feels like this is a team that maybe is building some confidence versus Washington and Lee.
Washington Lee has won the toss. They've elected to receive and will go left to right here in the first quarter as the captains make their way back to the sideline. Andrew, some keys to victory for both Washington Lee and the Apprentice School here this afternoon.
For WNL, you have to execute on offense early. Don't have a short drive. Receiving is great. When you go 3 and out, it feels terrible. So get going on offense early, build some rhythm, and on defense, find some swagger. Get your kind of playing back and start to lay some hits on guys. When you have 40-plus points dropped on you in the first game, get some big hits early, get your confidence back, and then start to really get into this game. And on the Apprentice side, it's all about setting the edge. You can't let the Generals get loose vertically. You have to keep them running horizontally to the sideline, set the edge, keep your leverage, and just don't let them get vertical and have big explosive run plays.
So Apprentice lining up to kick things off with sophomore kicker Logan Eastman. Kicked 3 field goals in the win against Southern Virginia last weekend, and he was also 5 for 5 on PATs. He'll be the one to boot it away here for the Apprentice School. Back to receive for the Generals are Ian Evans and Wilson Axley. As this one is fielded by Axley at the 10-yard line. The first year with some room to run. Axley across the 40. Axley to midfield. He cuts back and is tackled at the Apprentice 42-yard line. A big return for Wilson. Axley gets us underway here in the home opener.
Perfectly executed return there. Axley gets to the hash, gets the blocks he needs, and then just shoots straight up that hash line all the way to the other side of the field. It's just a big-time return and a great way to get your team into the game.
So Wilson Axley flexing his speed. The first year we get some time at slot back and running back for the Generals is here by way of Dallas. His longest return of this season. So Ty Collins and the Washington Lee offense take over at the Apprentice 42-yard line. 1st and 10 with Romero to his left. Well, play action from the Generals. Collins looking to the far sideline. He's got Josh Garcia. Garcia inside the 5. Garcia. And they'll say he steps out at the 2-yard line. So a 40-yard pass play from Collins to Garcia, and the big plays early for the Generals offense.
And that's something you'll see Garrett LaRose likes to do to start the game. Teams obviously know the Generals like to run the ball. So when you already have that preconceived notion, why not go play action right off the bat? Another big play for the Generals knocking on the door.
So 1st and goal for Washington and Lee at the 2-yard line for Apprentice. Generals take them one play to get to the other 2-yard line. The give is to Marcus Payne, and Payne finds the end zone. Couldn't have scripted a better start for Washington and Lee as they take a 6-0 lead.
Well, I said don't go 3 and out. Only takes 2 plays for the Generals to end up scoring. Like you said, dream start here for the blue and white.
So Payne on the sweep, piles in for his first rushing touchdown of the year. He had a receiving touchdown last weekend against Salisbury. Well, Marcus Payne finds the end zone for Washington, less than a minute in. So Michael Fernandez will line up the extra point for the Generals. Good snap, good hold, and Fernandez pounds it through.
Good looking kick there from Fernandez. Bayshans gets the hold up, and that, just like that, 7-zip, 48 seconds into the game.
Couple of big plays for the Generals. Starts with the return from Axley, capped off by a Marcus Payne rushing touchdown. And the Generals come out firing.
And you're used to kind of those 7-8 minute drives from the Generals. Ground them and pound them. Take a lot of time off the clock. Work your way up the field. 5-6 yard gains. How about a couple of explosive plays just to kick it off on the return and the play action pass?
A 48-yard kickoff return from Wilson Axley. A 40-yard pass from Ty Collins to Josh Garcia, and then Marcus Payne pounds it in with a 2-yard rushing touchdown to cap off the Generals' first touchdown here at home this season.
And boy, how open was Garcia on that play. Just perfectly scripted. Exactly what you want to do and draw up if you're just trying to get your offense into the game early. And I like that. Kind of just try to have a big play right off the bat. Why not get your team settled in after a disappointing week?
So it'll be the first-year punter Marcus Gafford to boot it away here for Washington and Lee, and his kick is met at the 5-yard line by the Builders. Trying to cut it to the near side is Josiah Beecham, and he's pushed out of bounds at his own 32-yard line. So a 27-yard return that time from Beecham, and good field position to start for Apprentice.
Yeah, when you have a guy, the returner cuts it back like that, you want to have guys on the backside who are already kind of setting contain there. Kind of broke contain a little bit. That's why he was able to get a decent return on it, but not the end of the world by any means.
So Apprentice and senior quarterback Grant Swanger take the field as they go empty set here to start. Rushed the ball effectively last weekend, had 300 yards on the ground, 427 yards of total offense. The player comes in motion. That's number 19, Kendrick Overton. Josiah Beecham catches it in, and the shoelace tackle by Charlie Fleming breaks up a potential long response from the Builders.
Yeah, the Generals go zero blitz right there, just trying to get to the quarterback. Unfortunately for the Generals, weren't able to get there in time. And I think in a lot of ways also fortunate that that wasn't going straight for the end zone.
So 1st and 10 for Apprentice at the Washington Lee 42. Swanger completes his first pass of the day, and just like that, the Builders are on the plus side of midfield. Overton in motion. Will swing out to the right. He'll catch the swing pass here with room to run. Overton down the sideline. And he's forced out of bounds at the 26 after a pick of 16.
Yeah, I saw Fleming coming down there, the guy trying to make the tackle. By the time he's able to get through the gap, he's just a little bit too late, and a couple of big plays to start it for the Builders, so General's defense already reeling.
Overton, who also is the backup quarterback for Apprentice, gets some time at wide receiver, and we've seen him be involved on each of the first 2 plays. It'll be Ty Taylor, the running back to the left of Swanger in the shotgun here for the Builders. He gets the handoff up the middle, and he is met by a host of Generals after a 2-yard gain. So both Uno Todd and Jalen Todd and Uno Christopher, a little mixed match names there, in on the tackle. 2nd and 8 for the Builders here at the Washington and Lee 24-yard line. And Swanger will look back to the sideline and get the signals from the Builders sideline. 3 receivers to the left of the formation. Swanger has his pass batted down. Generals falling out. There's a flag as well. It was going to be an incomplete pass. We'll see what the call is.
Yeah, nice job to get a hand up there at the line of scrimmage, but looks like probably a late hit from Will Mahmood.
Mahmood was coming off the edge pretty much unblocked. Swanger had to get rid of it, and it was knocked down by the Generals' defensive line. And it looks like this perhaps is against the Builders.
Now Swanger was asking for the late hit. Looks going to end up being a hold.
So holding on number 74, Jack Klingerman, will push the Builders back here on 2nd down. So that'll bring up 2nd and 18 for Apprentice.
Always feels a little bad when you get called for holding and there is still pressure on your quarterback. Never want to get a big play called back, but at least it feels like you're doing a little more with it.
Swanger out of the gun here on 2nd and 18. Taylor will switch to his right side. 3 receivers on the short side of the formation, bunched to the right. With Eduardo Rios, the lone receiver, to the left. Swanger flushed out of the pocket. He's got room to run. His throw has a wide open target, and hauling it in is Josiah Beecham for a Builders touchdown.
Just like that, scores are leveled here as we take another look. Swanger showing some athleticism, able to get free from Malik Henry and just throws it for the end zone of the open receiver.
So Josiah Beecham catches his 2nd touchdown of the year. It's the 5th passing touchdown for Grant Swanger, and Apprentice is an extra point away from knotting this game at 7.
Leak Hardy, that is. Sorry, Leak.
Logan Eastman will line up this extra point for the Builders. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is through. So Eastman caps off the Apprentice drive as Beecham hauls in a 34-yard touchdown pass from Grant Swanger. And with 11:46 to play in the opening quarter, we're all tied at 7.
Yeah, Swanger, like I said, showing that athleticism there to have that throw on the run. Granted, his receiver was pretty open, but still puts it on a pretty quick pace there. Christopher was closing, but a couple of pretty open wide receivers to start the game here from the Generals secondary. And I think if you're, defensive coordinator Vaughn Johnson right now, that's probably what you're talking to the guys about, is just a little bit of that protection. Granted, I'm sure he would have liked his D-line to just get home and take Swanger out of the play there initially.
So Eastman will line up his 2nd kickoff. The first one was returned by Wilson Axley for 42 yards. As the first year fielded it at his own 10 and brought it well across midfield. See what he can do if they elect to hit it to him again. This time it's to the other side for Ian Evans. Check that, Connor Lehman. Lehman with a hole. Lehman up the near side, across midfield. He's pushed out of bounds at the 41-yard line as Connor Lehman has another big return.
And boy, it's good to see him out there again returning those. Had a really tough knee injury out here on Wilson Field last year on a return, and he's really special if he can get loose. Former track team member, just really fast in the open field, and a guy that Generals are pretty happy when the ball is flying his way off those kickoff opportunities.
So 2 big returns for the Generals as they start on the plus side of midfield on each of their first 2 drives. This one will start at the Apprentice 40-yard line with 11:36 to play here in the first, tied at 7. Collins will give off to Romero up the middle, and Jacob Romero pushes ahead for 5 yards on first down.
Generals kind of getting back to that classic offense here. No play action to start this drive, just going to start getting that running game established with a nice carry up the middle from Romero.
2 kickoff returns for the Generals for a combined 97 yards here to start. 2nd and 5 from the Apprentice 35. Romero gets the carry again, and this time is stood up after 2 yards. A lot of builders at the bottom of that pile, including number 44, Chase Gaines.
Yeah, we'll see what the Generals try to do here, because with the two outside linebackers on the defense for the Builders, that does kind of give the Generals a numbers advantage in the middle of the field. So might be electing to try to just kind of keep running those sort of draw plays a little more so than those option plays to the outside.
Land the receiver to the left of the formation. Anthony Crawford in at running back for the Generals. Payne goes in motion from right to left. Collins will run the option to the left. Pitch to Crawford, has trouble with it, and the Builders fall on it.
Wow, they're going to say that was a backwards pitch. Looked forward from our vantage point, to me at least. And that's a costly mistake there for the Generals, not able to capitalize on that big return as we take another look.
Jay-Sean Miller, Arrington's the one to fall on it. And it's pretty much just about in line.
Yeah.
Across from Collins to Crawford, and the Generals cough it up, which will give Apprentice back the ball. So W&L cannot take advantage of good field position on a long kickoff return on their second drive. They fumble and give it back to the Builders here with 10:18 to play in the first. Apprentice starts their drive at their own 33. Three receivers to the right. Swanger out of the gun with the ball on the right hash. Will drop back to pass. Looking right. Knocked away that time by the hand of Alan Hagler. TK Petty, the intended target, up that far sideline.
Yeah, Swanger really trying to force it into a window there. Had 3 Generals in pursuit of that ball. Hagler able to get the hand to it. I think Swanger's a little lucky there that did end up being a ball going right back the Generals' way.
So Hagler breaks up that pass along the sideline. Now the 3 receivers will come to the near side of the formation. 10 left on the play clock here for the Builders as Swanger will change the call at the line. Swanger going quick to the right. He's got his man. It's McKeegan Pierkowski. Hauls in his first pass of the season and picks up about 9 yards. I'll bring up 3rd and short for Apprentice. Just about a yard or so left for the Builders. They were effective on 3rd down last weekend, where 5 of 8 in 3rd down conversions against Southern Virginia. That was an area in which they struggled in last year. We're just converting at about 38.5% a year ago. Taylor to the right of Swanger out of the shotgun. And it's a delay of game as the play clock expires against the Builders.
And that's not what you want to see, because even if the Builders were to get stopped there, you can probably still go for it on 4th down in that spot if you're choosing to continue to be aggressive. So just a bad penalty to take, and it's those kind of mistakes when you're on the road playing a team that's 3-0 against you. Just can't have those.
So I'll bring up 3rd and 6 now for Apprentice. Notice the last couple plays, they really worked the play clock all the way down, and that time just an extra second was too much.
Right, just going to say in that same vein, Generals have to get off the field here on 3rd down. Try to put that turnover in the past and just get the ball back in the hands of your offense.
Bad snap. Swanger able to corral it. He's under pressure. His throw is complete to Pierkowski. At the 44-yard line of Washington Lee, he drops to a knee to make a sliding grab.
And Todd just unable to get his eyes back at the quarterback. Ball flies right past him, and Swanger, despite the bad snap, able to set his feet and deliver a dime.
To Pierkowski, who didn't get much action in terms of catches in the season opener. 2 back-to-back catches there for the Builders, and a big one on 3rd and 6 to keep this drive alive. 1st and 10 from the WNL 44. Swanger, delayed handoff. This is Taylor. And he is wrestled to the ground after 3 yards.
Looking a little slippery there. Generals do a good job to wrap up.
Ty Taylor, the freshman from Hampton, Virginia. 21 carries, a $152. Also caught a ball for 11 yards last week against Southern Virginia. So 22 total touches, 163 yards of offense, including his longest run being a 37-yard carry. Averaged over 7 yards per carry last week. And a guy that they want to feature a little bit more, him and Kamari Moore, kind of a little 1-2 punch of a couple of freshman running backs for this Builders team.
Just not a bad week there.
Not at all. Swanger looking over the middle and overthrows Taylor on a halfback angle across the middle. A flag comes in late behind the play. And it looks like it will be once again against the Builders. I'll wait for the official call. So Brian Lucas, who's in at left guard for the Builders, picks up a holding call, and it'll stay 2nd down, but now be 2nd and 16.
A bit of 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of drive here for the Builders. Had that penalty, a delay game on 3rd down, now the holding call.
2nd and 16 right at midfield with 7:28 to play here in the first quarter, tied at 7. Swanger will go for the double pass. Overton has got a man, and he underthrows Petty. Both Petty and Pierkowski were behind the Generals' defense, and that one comes up short.
Yeah, the Generals dodge a bullet there. Oh, my goodness. Overton maybe just couldn't pick which receiver to get it to. Swanger puts his hands on his head. That was a missed opportunity in every sense of the phrase.
So Apprentice got hit with a double pass for a touchdown against SVU last week. They break out something similar, looking for a double pass on 2nd and long, and just a ball a little bit underthrown that time by Overton. And now it sets up 3rd and 16.
That's a nice piece of offense there, too. You had the setup play earlier, if you remember, with Overton.
And they just get the snap off before the play clock expires. Under pressure, Swanger gets past the arms of Mahmoud. Mahmoud back after him again. He gets dodged once more, and Swanger is eventually brought down by Mac Palmer for a 3-yard loss in front of his own sideline.
Geez, I don't know what the gross yardage was there for Swanger. He was rolling all around there. Credit to Mahmoud for the pursuit. Got some hands on his hips right now.
So that'll bring out Logan Eastman as the Builders will bring their punting unit out on 4th and 19 from their own 47. Wilson Axley back deep to receive, standing at his own 15 for the Generals. Eastman 2 punts last week, averaged 42 yards a punt. high punt actually calls for a fair catch and will grab it at the Generals' 18-yard line. So W&L will get their third offensive possession, 1st and 10, starting at their own 18.
And the Generals, after a costly turnover in a plus yardage situation on that last drive, need to get something going a little bit here. That first drive, obviously, can't complain about points, but you definitely want to find some rhythm offensively as well. So Generals will be looking to have at least a longer sustained drive here, you'd think.
6:27 left to play in the first quarter, and they'll spot it at the 19-yard line. So the Generals will have 1st and 10 at their own 19. Romero to the right of Ty Collins out of the shotgun. Ian Evans, the lone receiver, bottom of the screen. Romero trying to find the hole and dives ahead for 2 yards.
Romero just kind of had to take what he could get there, make sure it wasn't a tackle for loss, but not the best play on first down.
Brought down the play by number 50, DeWard Williams, and number 56, Adonis Watkins.
Generals had really good field position on their first 2 drives thanks to some long kickoff returns. This one starting in their own end of the field. Burke Sigelski on the sweep, and he is tackled right at the first down marker. That's enough to move the chains for a first down for Washington and Lee.
Nice sweep right there. Burke's a guy who can get a little bit forgotten in this offense as well. Definitely a quick guy, real strong runner. Nice option for this Generals team.
Washington and Lee gets it out to their own 29-yard line. Del Spall in motion. Collins will run the option to the left, pitches to Romero. And Romero scampers out of bounds after a pickup of 6 yards.
The Generals offense starting to get going a little bit now, getting to the outside, starting to show their speed a bit more. Builders outside linebackers going to need to continue to try to set the edge.
Washington and Lee, 3 straight runs here on this third drive. And they'll run it again with Sigelski, and he is gobbled up right at the point of attack that time. Sincere Hawkins, the safety, coming down to help make that hit. And it's actually for a 1-yard loss.
Yeah, the Builders were really packing the box on that play. Had a lot of guys coming down the middle, so the Generals just trying to break out as quick as they can. Unfortunately, weren't able to do so.
3rd and about 3 for Washington and Lee at their own 36. Generals struggled on 3rd down last week on 4 of 11. Collins will elect to keep it, and after just about 2 yards, looks like he'll be just a tad short.
No real hesitation. Looks like the offense is going to... Nope. There goes the offense. Would have been a pretty aggressive call early on. Seemed like the offense was wanting to stay out there, but Coach Garrett LaRose thinks better of it.
And instead they have 4th and just about 2. It's a long one, closer to 2. And Marcus Gafford back to punt for the Generals. Gafford, 3 punts last week, including a long of 69 yards. And Mac Palmer coming in late as the Generals only had 10 men on the field. And now they will take a delay of game penalty, which will back the Generals up 5 yards.
And Coach LaRose didn't like that one. Just kind of a matter of paying attention and execution there, and definitely something that Coach LaRose preaches a lot is, you can't shoot yourself in the foot, especially in that way.
So if there was any thought about maybe going forward on 4th and a yard or 2, that now becomes 4th and about 7. So Gafford back to try and boot it away. Josiah Beecham set to return it for the Builders. He'll let it bounce, and it'll take a friendly W&L roll at the 32 all the way inside the 15. That gets about 20 yards a roll from Marcus Gafford before it's touchdown at the Builders' 12-yard line.
How about the friendly roll there for Gafford? Hits a little Pat McAfee golf chip shot right afterwards for the celebration. A nice punt to really flip the field after the Generals sputtered out on offense.
So that'll back the Builders up to their own 12-yard line, where they will get their third offensive possession with 3:04 left here in the first quarter. So the Builders, who went right down the field after Washington and Lee did on their first drive, and their second drive stalled out around midfield thanks to a couple of penalties and some negative yardage plays, will now take over 1st and 10 at their own 12.
And really, it probably should be 14-7 right now if you go back to that Overton double pass play that they just missed on. But the Generals defense has some good field position to work with here. Can give up some yardage, but see if they can really put their heel in the ground here, try to get a 3-and-out and try to get some good field position for their offense.
Swanger barking out orders out of the shotgun for the Builders. 4 receivers. Hand off to the running back, and that's Ty Taylor. Right up the middle for 4 yards on first down.
We're seeing the Builders really trying to just take control of this time of possession, running the play clock almost all the way down just about every time. I know the Generals like to stay on the field, constantly running the ball, taking the clock down. Looks like trying to force that themselves here.
Great receivers to the top of the screen on the right of the formation. Hand off straight ahead, and about 5 more yards here for Ty Taylor, as that brings up 3rd and short.
We talked about it in the pregame. Got to get off the field on 3rd down. See if the Generals can make a stand here.
We know mixing some things around defensively, trying to combat this 4 wide receiver look. Taylor, another carry up the middle. He gets across the first down marker, and then Fleming, Christopher, and Todd help to try and drive him back, but they already gave him the first down after 3 yards.
Yeah, the Generals didn't give him much, but on 3rd and short, that'll do. And once more, the Builders are able to stay on the field on offense.
Apprentice very quick at getting to the line, getting set, and then really trying to change the play call from there and work the play clock down. Swanger, the late handoff, and right off the edge to make the tackle for Washington and Lee, number 44, Alex Verney.
Yeah, what a big-time play there from Verney. Just to read the quarterback, shows great patience. As soon as he sees the ball go, just gobbles up the running back in the backfield.
A 3-yard loss that time for Taylor, as Verney gets the tackle for loss. Inside the final minute here of the first. Builders working from their own 20-yard line. Overton comes in motion. Swanger looking to the right, will dump it off. And tackled there is number 8, Beecham. So Josiah Beecham picks up about 5 or 6 to try and make it a more manageable 3rd down here for Apprentice. And we'll see if they try and force the issue to get the play off here before the end of the quarter or not. 5 seconds and counting here before the end of the first quarter. And it seems like the Builders are content to let this go to the second. So after each team scored on their opening drive, that remains our score after 15 minutes here at Wilson Field. 7-7 Apprentice in Washington and Lee, as we get ready before the second quarter right here on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. One quarter in the books here in the 2024 home opener for Washington Lee football. 7-7 score between the Apprentice School and W&L as we switch sides of the field. A 3rd and 7 upcoming for the Builders here at their own 26-yard line. In that first quarter, Washington and Lee ran 10 plays for 68 yards of offense. For Apprentice, 15 plays, 122 yards of offense. Really, the Generals switched the field with a couple of big kick returns to set up some drives. Each team scored on their first possession, and nothing since.
And you got the long punt from the Generals, too. Special teams have been pretty solid today.
Swanger on 3rd down, dropping back to pass over the middle. He's got Pierkowski, and that's enough for the first down and some, as McKeegan Pierkowski hauls in his 3rd pass of the day.
Good patience there from Swanger. Just kind of waits for his guy to get in the hole of the Generals' defense and then fires it in there. Cool as you like on 3rd down. And once again, the Generals just having a lot of trouble getting off the field.
The first down for the Builders at their own 39. Swanger looking to his right, goes back over the middle and fires it through the hands of Beecham and incomplete.
And I think Todd and Alentini wish that ball got tipped just a little bit higher there. They're kind of waiting right behind. And they've been able to complete, though. Had a lot of open field to work with.
So Swanger now 7 of 9 through the air for 122 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, that 34-yard touchdown pass to Beecham, which brought in a team high 3 catches for 66 yards thus far. Couldn't haul in that last pass. 2nd and 10 for Apprentice. Taylor, the running back, to the right of Swanger. Takes the handoff, keeps it himself, and just dives ahead for a yard or 2. Read option that time. Not many good options for Swanger.
Well, it was always interesting when teams decided to run the option versus the Generals, because it was the offense the defense sees almost most commonly in practice all the time, so usually pretty used to what's going on there.
So a player down in the Washington Lee secondary. So he gets tended to by the W&L medical staff here. 13:57 to play before halftime. A 7-7 score. The Apprentice School head coach Vincent Brown in his 4th season. He's a former defensive lineman. He played at Memphis and Morgan State. Their assistant head coach and offensive coordinator, a UVA football legend, Elton Brown. He's a Hall of Famer at the University of Virginia, a 2-time All-American offensive lineman who has his number 61 retired by the Cavaliers football team. Got drafted in the 2005 NFL draft by the Arizona Cardinals, 111th overall. Played 5 years in the NFL. Now moved back to Virginia, and his main focus, besides coaching football, has been doing some of his charity work that he started while he was playing in the NFL. He's continued that in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Newport News area on the eastern side of Virginia, and has continued to coach football here with the Builders as well. So we'll see what his play call is here on 3rd and 8 for Apprentice. They've been able to keep drives alive thus far. 3 for 4 on 3rd down. What can they do here? Swanger looking right. This one's picked off by Alan Hagler. Hagler has it knocked out of his hands, and he fumbles it out of bounds. But he gets the interception. It rolls out at the 31-yard line, and Washington and Lee will take over right there.
Big play right there from Hagler. He's done a good job getting his eyes back to the quarterback when he's been in coverage. Just sees this one the whole way, jumps the route, shows a bit of athleticism, and is able to get forward, and fortunately doesn't lose the ball back. Regardless, probably would have had to punt for the Builders anyways, but what a big-time play there to give his offense some great field position and try to jumpstart the Generals here in the second quarter.
So Washington and Lee will luck out, and now they will bring it back, because they'll say perhaps maybe he stepped out of bounds before the fumble came out of bounds, as it looks like they will respot the ball, and now maybe respot it again. We're a little confused on where this ball went out of bounds, Andrew, as we got the poor umpire in the middle of the field walking back and forth.
Kind of just looking to his sideline.
And so we'll switch out balls and mark it officially at the 32-yard line.
So even better field position indeed for the Generals there. It looked like Coach Rose was on top of the officiating as well there on the sideline.
So Washington Lee 1st and 10, trying to capitalize on an Alan Hagler interception. Anthony Crawford gets the carry on 1st down and grabs 4 yards for the Generals.
Strong carry there from Crawford, and it's kind of like we talked about in the pregame. That's what the coaches like about him. A real strong runner. Not a ton of a hole there, but still able to make something out of it and just get a strong gain on 1st down.
Frank Coleman in there on the tackle defensively for the Apprentice school. Generals, bad snap. Collins able to pick it off the turf, give to Crawford, and push ahead for 5 more yards. So Anthony Crawford with back-to-back carries here, trying to get him involved after he fumbled a pitch on the Generals' 2nd drive.
Yeah, well done there from Collins and Crawford just to stay on time despite the low snap. Collins able to just pick it right off the ground and get it to Crawford cleanly.
So 3rd and 1 from the 23-yard line. Crawford still to the right of Ty Collins. Garcia comes in motion. Crawford straight ahead. Enough for the 1st down as he picks up 2 on 3rd and 1.
I think that's pretty big there. You don't want to go 3 and out after getting a big turnover like that. Would have been a decent length field goal. Not a guarantee by any means for almost any kicker in the Division III level. So this way get to keep the offense on the field, and I think they probably would have gone for it regardless, but still no need.
1st and 10 from the 21. Now it's Romero's turn. And Romero couldn't get out of the grasp there of Coleman and Gaines. They tackled him after 3 yards. It looked like there was a hole for Romero to find. It just he couldn't get through the pressure of the Builders defense.
We're seeing the Generals pretty committed to working the middle of the field here. See if they can start to catch the Builders sleeping as they pack more and more guys into the box. See if they'll get outside.
Andrew Bland, the only receiver for the Generals, out wide to the left. Romero spins back left. He'll catch a block from his quarterback, Collins. Romero lowers his shoulder and gains maybe a couple of yards. That was a play that had perhaps negative yardage that Romero was able to turn into a gain of 1. Catching a block from his starting quarterback, Ty Collins, in a direction to get to the sideline as well.
Nicely done there from Collins, just able to get his eyes back, notice what Romero's doing, and give him a little extra time to get outside there.
So 3rd and 6 from the 17. Generals pack a tight formation. Low snap. Romero trying to push ahead. And he'll get 3 yards, as this will be a decision time for the W&L coaching staff. 4th and 3 from the Builders' 14-yard line. Is this in field goal range, or is this 4-down territory? And it looks like offensive coordinator Matt Raposa will keep the offense on the field.
And it felt like that play there was with the intention of going for it on 4th down. Fernandez never, on the sideline, the Generals kicker, never moved a muscle.
They'll give it to Anthony Crawford, and Crawford stretching out for the 1st down will get it as he picks up 4 yards on 4th and 3. And the Generals stay perfect on 4th down conversions this year. They're now 5 for 5.
That was something that definitely got us in a little bit of trouble last year, with some of that aggressive 4th down play calling just not going your way. So good to see the Generals really taking care of business this year.
In week 1 against Salisbury, W&L was the only team in Division III football to complete more than 3 4th down conversions, going 4 for 4. Collins with the handoff to Crawford, and he's tackled right at the line. So pushing and shoving after the whistle as well. Jay-Sean Miller-Arrington, one of the first guys through, as well as Darius Carney as part of that defensive front for the Builders.
Yeah, well done there from Cegelski on the outside, just to not shove back, because in that instance, you're always going to get called for the reaction. You're just going to end up backing your team up. especially when you're knocking on the door of the end zone in a 7-7 ball game. Just not what you need.
2nd and goal from the 10-yard line. 9 minutes to play here in the second quarter. Washington Lee and Apprentice tied at 7. Anthony Crawford gets the carry, and he's tripped up at the 4-yard line. Mason McGavran in there to make the stop for the Builders as Crawford had eyes for 6.
Yeah, I saw a big hole there, just a little bit on the cutback. Unable to quite get in the end zone, though. See if the Generals can punch it in here.
So 3rd and goal from the 4. Crawford staying in as the running back. They'll get it once more, and Crawford reaching out, finds the end zone for 6. After 10 touchdowns during his first year, Anthony Crawford gets his first touchdown of his sophomore campaign, as that puts Washington Lee in front 13-7 with 8:21 to play here in the second quarter.
Talked about Crawford in the pregame as a guy looking to continue to take steps forward and be a bigger part of this offense. Reigning ODAC Rookie of the Year, able to just punch it in there, and had a really good drive as well. Just a lot of strong running up the middle of the field.
Fernandez, his extra point is knocked through, and the Generals take a 14-7 lead. So Anthony Crawford caps off a big drive for the Generals as they score for their second time here today. Make it 10 plays, 32 yards, using 5 minutes and 17 seconds of time off the clock, and the Generals punching in for their second touchdown of the day and the first for Anthony Crawford.
Alan Hagler gives them some great field position, and the Generals able to execute through a 4th down play call. Punch it in. A better looking drive there for the Generals on some nice field position. Now on the kickoff, Generals allowed it to be returned to the 35 last time. I have to think they're going to be looking to try to bottle up the returner a little sooner this time.
Now Marcus Gafford will step it off to try and kick it away for the Generals. He had a 55-yard punt. And the only time the Generals punted the ball away today. His kickoff, as you mentioned, was returned pretty well, but he did get a good leg behind it. So Gafford. This one will keep it on the ground. It rolls, and it will roll out of bounds at the 3-yard line. Some good awareness that time by Josiah Beecham just to let it tumble out of bounds. And this one will be coming out. And some good field position to start for Apprentice.
So it'll end up going to the 35 regardless. Just caught that ball a little fat. Happens.
So this will be spotted at the 35-yard line for the Builders as they take over 1st and 10 with 8:21 left to go before halftime. They trail 14-7. It didn't take long for them to respond after Washington and Lee scored. Apprentice went 5 plays, 68 yards in just over 2 minutes after the Generals took a 7-0 lead to tie the game at 7. And that was the first scoring since on that last touchdown run by Crawford. Empty set here to start for the Builders. Swanger looking left, has his target as that's hauled in by Pierakowski. And Pierakowski takes it across midfield for a pickup of 16 yards.
Just a really clean pocket that time. Swanger had really all day to make his decision and just fires it right on time over the middle of the field.
So Pierakowski, 3 catches now. He's closing in on 50 yards receiving. Swanger trying to work quickly. The Generals get through, and Will Mahmood comes up with the sack. Flag flies late, but Mahmood comes through for the sack.
Looks like a hold on the Builders in the end as well. I think looked like Uno Christopher was held there.
So that was a hold against the Builders, as you said, Andrew. So Mahmood's sack will back them up just about 10 yards as Will Mahmood gets his second sack of the year. As full sacks the Generals have this season defensively. Something he did really well last season as well. On his way to be named first team all-conference was Mahmoud. He was a guy that led the Generals in tackles for loss and sacks last season.
And if the Generals are going to be successful this year, that pair of Wills has to be getting home.
And Mahmoud gets through and gets a hit on Swanger as he gets rid of it. As the intended target Beecham over the middle wasn't ready for the ball to come in his direction.
Yeah, it looks like he's pretty frustrated that Hagler didn't get a penalty called on him there for pass interference. But finishing that thought, Will Mahmoud and Will Knight are two guys that really need to get pressure to the quarterback if the Generals defense is going to be successful this year after the loss of Nate Unger, Peyton Pack on the D-line. A couple of big impact players there on that defensive end of the ball, so definitely some shoes to fill, and Will Mahmoud already making himself known in this season.
So we got some clock issues with the clock not stopping. It was an incomplete pass, so about 30 seconds or so has ticked off the clock here before they stop it, so they'll have to go back and reset the time, as this will be called up from. So they'll put 7:01 back on the clock as it ticked all the way down to 6:33. So about 30 seconds of game time added back on after that incompletion. So a 3rd and 20 upcoming here for Apprentice. 3 of 5 on 3rd down, but definitely their longest 3rd down they have faced so far this afternoon. 4 receivers bunched out on the short side of the formation, top of your screen. Rios, the lone guy at the bottom of the screen, and Swanger has an empty set. Just it looks like a 3-man rush from the Generals. Swanger over the middle, lofts one up. Beecham can't haul it in. Had first down yardage, just slipped through his fingertips. And here comes the punting unit for the Builders.
Yeah, just a little too far away there. Good pass protection from Jalen Todd coming down, making it a little more difficult on the catch there as well. General's able to get off the field on the 3rd down, and talk about a play that would have been really deflating for that defense as if they had to convert there, but nonetheless, General's able to get off the field on 3rd down.
So Logan Eastman back to punt. One punt for 34 yards. This one barely gets it off. And it's not a great one. It takes not the best roll, but it will roll to the middle of the field and be touched down at the WL 26-yard line. Just seemed like Eastman was lucky to get that one away.
Yeah, that's definitely the worst feeling as a punter, is when see the guys kind of collapsing on you. Looks like he kind of just had to hit it almost straight up. Didn't have much room to go forward there. Generals brought a lot of pressure. You have to think after seeing that pressure is only going to get more intense. The Builders have to send that punt unit back out there.
So Washington at least had the ball 4 times. They've scored twice, turned it over once, and punted once as they start their 5th possession of the day with 6:44 left here before halftime on their own 26-yard line. Ty Collins with Jacob Romero to his right. Josh Garcia comes in motion, and somebody jumps early along the defensive front for the Builders. Number 59, Rochard Phipps, pushing over the lineman that time.
Yeah, Mason Ryan, unfortunately, on the other end of that.
Well, that'll set up 1st and 5 for the Generals. Washington lead 20 plays of offense, 100 yards on the dot. Ty Collins, 1 pass, a 40-yard completion to Josh Garcia. Everything else has been on the ground.
Gotta wonder, you see how far down these safeties are playing right now. Are the Generals going to take advantage of that at some point and try to work back to that play-action play that was so successful to Garcia initially, as he's going to get stopped this time here.
Chase Gaines right there to scoop up Josh Garcia after a gain of 3 yards. So that'll be 2nd and short. After a 1st and 5, we'll have 2nd and 2 for W&L. 6 different players for the Generals with a carry so far this afternoon. Crawford and Romero each have 7. Sigelski and Collins with a pair, and Garcia and Payne each with a touch on the ground. Give is to the Generals' lead back in Romero. He gets past one tackle, trying to break through more. He gets across midfield. That's where he's met. Well, you see the explosiveness of Romero to find that hole and push through. The Generals get it at the Builders' 48, 1st and 10. 5.5 minutes left here in the second quarter, working with a touchdown advantage. Collins, the pitch to Payne. He gets through one tackle, sheds another. A couple of Builders around him, and he'll get stopped at the 30-yard line. There's a flag behind the play about 15 yards back. A big run for Marcus Payne.
And you really get to see the strength from Payne there. If I had a nickel for every time the play ends with just 5 guys holding Marcus Payne. Not on the ground, still completely standing right up, just showing his strength. But a lot of the plays just end up him getting whistled dead because he's surrounded by the defense of the other team. Just a really, really strong runner, especially when it gets loose in the open field.
So holding against Washington and Lee, and Josh Garcia will counteract that run from Marcus Payne. And so that'll bring W&L back just about 5 yards or so. And the hold happened further up in the play. So instead it'll be about 1st and about 16 instead of 1st and 20. Generals are now at their own 46. Collins with the option to Garcia. And Garcia's got a burst. He's past the first down marker as Benny Nina trips him up at the 35-yard line. A big burst from Garcia making up for that penalty.
And that's what happens when you run the ball so effectively on the inside like Crawford did on that last drive. Forces the Builders just to play more guys down in the box, and it gives you so much more space on the outside when you start to do that speed option.
It seemed like Evans did a good job of sealing the edge on the outside, too, as it took for one of the linebackers to chase Garcia down after he found the hole on the far side. So 1st and 10 for the Generals at the Builders' 35. Crawford right up the middle, and 2 yards on first down for Anthony Crawford.
Talking about Evans' blocking, kind of a running joke on the Generals team with the wide receiving core is that they're just outside linemen. Because they do a lot more blocking than catching a lot of times, but Evans is a guy who definitely takes a lot of pride in that and is very effective at it. That's why he's really carved out that position for himself in the starting lineup.
And we'll get a timeout here from the Generals sideline. Didn't like how things lined up. So with 3:49 left before halftime and a second 8 and 8 upcoming, the Generals will talk things over. We'll step aside as well on the Washington Lee Sports Network. Following the Washington and Lee timeout, 3:49 to play here in the second quarter. A 14-7 advantage for W&L as they have 2nd and 8 from the Builders' 33-yard line. And Evans split out to the left. Anthony Crawford to the right of sophomore quarterback Ty Collins. Play action, and Collins' ball is behind Evans as that one falls incomplete.
Evans did have a lot of space over the middle, so I wonder if they'll maybe go back to that play a little later, maybe in the second half, but definitely had set up the play action pretty well there.
Just the second passing attempt for Ty Collins this afternoon. The only other was on the Generals' first play from scrimmage, which is a 40-yard pass and catch between Collins and Garcia. To set the Generals up inside Builders territory, and Marcus Payne punched it in on the next play from 2 yards away. Collins will keep it himself, and he is met just past the line of scrimmage for a gain of 1 or 2.
Yeah, didn't have a ton going on the outside there, so Collins just electing to take it himself.
Builders really had a good read on that option to the left from the Generals. So it's 4th and 8 from the 31. And WNL will keep the offense on the field. A little bit of no man's land for the Generals. And they'll pitch to Sigelski, and he is wrestled to the ground. Coming up to make the tackle is McGavran. And the Builders able to make a defensive stand and get the ball back with 3:05 to play in the second quarter.
No man's land, kind of exactly the right way to describe it. Would have been a 48-yard field goal. Probably not the most high probability attempt. Kind of just playing the odds of, do you feel more confident of making the field goal or your offense getting the first down there? Generals elect keep the offense on the field, but kind of a broken play from the start. Sigelski didn't have a ton of space at all.
So the Builders also will receive the second half kickoff as WNL won the toss and elected to receive. Turned out to be a good choice because it took them a big return in 2 plays to punch it in for 7 points. Now the Builders have a chance for a potential 2-for-1 here. Score before the end of the half and then get the ball to start the second half. Grant Swanger's pass intended for his tight end Cameron Leofo is incomplete.
Good to see Damon Lujan kind of in pursuit there. Went down earlier with an injury. Looked like they were feeling his shoulder. He's back out on the field, good to go.
So Taylor will flank Swanger. Not seen any of Kamari Moore yet out of the backfield for the Builders, who rushed for 127 yards and a touchdown as the secondary back for Apprentice. Last week against Southern Virginia, it's really been exclusively Taylor out of the backfield. He has just 6 carries for 15 yards, and a flag flies, and this is going to be another delay game. And the second time against the Builders here today, and not setting themselves up for success there, as this will bring up a 2nd and 15.
And so a drive you're hoping to maybe go 2-for-1 on now starts to creep into the mind of, can the Generals defense get a 3-and-out here and give their offense another opportunity to try to go down and score on a 2-minute drill?
2nd and 15, 3 minutes left before halftime. A Generals 14-7 advantage.
Builders still with all 3 timeouts if they're able to get the first.
Generals show blitz. Swanger stays in there. He finds Pierkowski over the middle. And that'll make it at least a 3rd and manageable, as it'll be a 3rd and 4 upcoming after a pitch and catch for 11.
Swanger's done well to be able to just stand up there in the pocket and really be patient with this Generals defense, just take what is given to him, and it feels like he's had a lot of space over the middle of the field so far.
After a 7-for-10 start from Swanger, he's just 2 for his last 6, but now 9 of 16 for 150 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. A look to pass here on 3rd and 4. Flushed out of the pocket, tripped up, and Mac Palmer getting his hand in there.
Nice initial pressure there from Mahmoud just to flush Swanger out of the pocket. And Palmer was waiting for him on the backside. What a big-time play there for the Generals.
So out comes the Builders punting unit for the 3rd time today. And it's like somebody called the timeout. And so it'll be 2 minutes back on the clock, and it'll be as the Generals will huddle up. This is new to Division III football this year, and college football in general, where the referees have discretion to add a 2-minute warning, which is not a full timeout at 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarter. It's just only if the flow of the game allows it. So with the clock ticking down as both teams are making substitutions, they can stop the clock there and have a unofficial 2-minute warning.
That's an interesting change. Definitely in my college football viewing so far this season, takes some getting used to a little bit. That there's now that 2-minute warning in college football.
But it doesn't have to take place,
Right.
which is where there is a little bit of, like, this is a perfect example. Both teams are starting to take the field, and then everyone's looking around like no one called a timeout, why we stopped. And obviously, translating here at the Division III level, perhaps maybe not at the same effective as a commercial break for some high-end FBS or FCS action.
Works out in the Generals' favor to get the clock stopped, though.
And then you still have 2 timeouts in your pocket, too, so Builders will bring the punting unit out, and if they'll be punting from their own 30-yard line, there's a chance to at least get a favorable field position for Washington and Lee, as both punts have gone for an average of about 33 yards thus far off the foot of Logan Eastman, including last one where he barely got it off.
I wonder if the Generals are really going to try to bring the pressure here.
Wilson Axley back, and the Generals block the punt. Ball's loose, picked up by Marcus Payne, and he'll run it in for a touchdown. There was a flag that flew as the ball was snapped, but the Generals block the punt and return it for 6.
Now the officials are discussing. We'll see what it is.
Good jump here from the Generals. They had a couple of guys get through. And picking it up was Marcus Payne. And the touchdown will stand. A special team score for Washington and Lee, as they have turned the tide here before halftime.
And you could see this one coming after the last punt attempt for the Builders. I mentioned it. The Generals are just able to get straight through here. Look at that A-gap. All that pressure straight up the middle, completely collapsing on the punter, and Payne just there to scoop it up cleanly and trot on into the end zone.
Will Nisley, one of the guys first through. Looked like Teddy Sparrow as well.
Sparrow has that great combination of that height, reach, and speed. Exactly what you want when you're trying to block a punt. And there was a bit of a change in mentality around special teams for the Generals last year. It was kind of, let's not lose the game on special teams kind of going into the year. And the mentality shift was really, hey, let's figure out ways to change the game on special teams. You really have felt that impact today. You've seen 2 great returns. You've seen a well-executed punt. Unfortunately, I didn't jinx anything, and another extra point is good. And then you have that big play there on the punt as well, getting that block. So you're really just seeing that emphasis of, hey, special teams can be a little bit of a difference maker here. And obviously, I'm going to be biased towards praising the special teams, but it's really been a key for the Generals here today.
Yeah, you mentioned it. 2 good kickoff returns, a solid punt from Marcus Gafford, a blocked punt return for a touchdown, and 3 for 3 on extra points for Michael Fernandez. That is a very quality first half on special teams for the blue and white. So when we talked about maybe Washington and Lee getting a chance to score before halftime with good field position, they didn't even get the ball on offense. So special teams block punt return for a touchdown courtesy of Marcus Payne. So that's his second total touchdown of the day. He also had the Generals' first score of the day on a 2-yard run.
Yeah, back and forth we go. We'll see who will actually have the ball to end it here, because he's still got 1:53 on the clock. He got 2 timeouts. The Generals can force another 3 and out. They have a chance to maybe get 3 or 7 more points on the board here before halftime.
Marcus Gafford lines it up to kick it off for the blue and white, as both Beecham and Moore ready to greet it around the 15. It's a low liner, and this one is going to be the same result as the last. Out of bounds for a penalty, as there's some pushing and shoving behind the play, and another flag will fly. Liao Fau just knocked over Mac Palmer after they were engaged blocking each other. And so after the ball will come out to the 35 for the ball getting kicked out of bounds. Perhaps a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty will then back that up.
Yeah, I mean,
the referees come together.
What a silly way to just offset good field position for your offense. In terms of the kickoff, just overswing it a little bit on it, catching the middle of the ball, and that used to be my specialty in practice, so I've done that many times myself, but sometimes when you're just trying to hit it too hard, it doesn't come off as cleanly as more just that smooth swing, and especially once you get that first kind of bad kickoff, it's definitely in the back of your head when you're doing the next, so just need to reset and take a breath and try to get something in the air a little better.
The referee still congregating, talking about the different flags that fly here. Obviously, the first being that the ball was kicked out of bounds, so that will bring it out to the 35, and then perhaps an unsportsmanlike. So we'll see what we can get from the referee. Well, and we didn't really get much. Started talking, and it looks like his mic cut off on him, so instead they're going to walk it back, and it looks like it'll be 1st and 10 from the 20, which would make sense. It'd be out to the 35 on the kickoff, and then a dead ball penalty of a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. So an unnecessary roughness. Essentially the same result. The 15-yard penalty will back them up to their own 20-yard line, and that's where they will take over 1st and 10. And now head coach Vincent Brown going to talk to his builders before they break the huddle and just trying to get them to regroup. Yeah, give up a blocked punt return for a touchdown. There's less than 2 minutes on the clock. Now you're backed up in your own territory starting at your own 20. You want to just try and get this game to halftime.
Now the offense takes the field.
So Grant Swanger and the Builders back out on the field. 3 receivers to the left. Rios, lone receiver to the right. Change of a play call at the line. Palmer coming off the edge. Swanger dodges him. Now Mahmoud will get him. The combo of Palmer and Mahmoud making a difference defensively for Washington and Lee.
What a huge play there, and there's the celebration there from Mahmoud for yet another sack today. See if it looks like the Generals taking the timeout to stop the clock, because at this point, you have the Builders really backed up inside their own 10-yard line. The opportunity to get very good field position, or you've been able to get home and block those punts so well already. If they can hold the Builders here inside their 10, it's going to be a short punt opportunity. Might be able to get back and block. Regardless, maybe get some good field position.
And you could see it. Palmer right off the edge there. Doesn't get initially through, but it does enough to force Swanger back, and Mahmoud is able to get there. And if we go back to the start of that clip, you watch the wide receiver. He even indicated before Palmer left, because when they changed the play, he jumped a little bit. He even indicated that this guy's coming to blitz, and Swanger still had nobody there to block for him, and Palmer was able to get through to at least disrupt things.
And that's something you got to pay attention to pre-snap, because you see Palmer's lined up on the wide receiver. You have Hagler right behind him. So Hagler's still able to cover there for protection, and Palmer just runs in free. And that's how the Generals defense has liked to use Palmer since he's joined the program last year, as kind of that speed blitz guy from the outside who can really wrap up a quarterback and at least make them uncomfortable. And in that case, that's what he does, and Mahmoud's able to clean up the scraps.
Yeah, the sophomore from Mountain Brook, Alabama, has had his fingerprints on this one defensively for Washington Lee. Both him and Will Mahmoud have been impactful players off the edge defensively for the Generals, as they have the Builders backed up at their own 7-yard line. 2nd and 23. Swanger finds Beecham, and Alentini will tackle him at the 19-yard line, and I'll spot him at the 20, so at least gets back to the original first down marker, and we'll set up 3rd and 10.
I was going to say for the Builders there, goal number one is just give your punter a little space if you're not able to get the third down. Now that they make it much more manageable, see if they can convert.
Swanger drops back. This one over the hands of Beecham and into the Builders bench. 4th and 10 from their own 20 with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. And let's see what the Builders do. It looks like they're going to keep the offense on the field, at least for now. And a late shift here will bring the special teams unit on. See if perhaps going quickly will not allow the Generals to line up fast enough to really contest this punt after they blocked the last one and returned it for a touchdown.
Looks like they're bringing the pressure again, set up almost identically to when they blocked the last one.
And this one blown dead. And we'll see why. Perhaps a timeout, and that's what it looks like. And it looks like the Builders called the timeout. Washington and Lee wouldn't need to call a timeout, so yes, officially it is a Builders timeout. So they got that off right before the ball was snapped, and maybe they just wanted to see how WNL was bringing their pressure again on the punt and perhaps try and make any adjustments they can.
And it looked like even on that one, Fidel Small was going to be back there pretty close to the punter, possibly with the chance of getting a hand to it. The Generals lined up identically to the way they did the time previous when they blocked it, so maybe once the Builders saw that, they wanted to make some sort of adjustment.
Logan Eastman has been under pressure all day. His 2 punts that he was able to get off. One was 34 yards, the other was 32. His most recent try, blocked and returned for a touchdown as a player jumped off sides but got right back on. The ball was not officially spotted yet. The Generals really trying to get that jump off the edge. Eastman gets this one away. It's not very far. Wilson Axley calling for the fair catch right at midfield as a couple of players go tumbling to the turf after. That was number 58 for Apprentice and number 52 for the Generals. So for 52 for the Generals, Brennan Stout, and 58 for the Builders, having to be helped off. But Washington Lee will get it right at midfield with 1 minute and 4 seconds left on the clock. Chance to try and strike again before halftime.
And what was shaping up to be a pretty quick half, Ryan. Boy, these last 3 minutes really slowed down with a lot of changes of possession.
First quarter breezed by, Andrew, after both teams score on their opening possession. This second quarter, although it's been exciting, has come with a little bit extra time here. And with 1 minute and 4 seconds left, Washington Lee starts their drive right at midfield. Romero in motion to the left. The Generals will run the option to the left. Collins gets to the first tackler, not the second, but he picks up 14 yards as he's tackled at the 36-yard line. Adonis Watson, the defensive end, had to track him down as the Generals are going to try and go quickly as they just want to spike the ball, as they will with 46 seconds left just to stop the clock. They only have one timeout left. The Builders have 2 timeouts left. So the Generals trying to be conservative with the clock. Make sure they only need to utilize that timeout when needed. Getting a chance to spike it on 1st and 10 doesn't take a whole lot away from what you can do.
For Michael Fernandez on the General side, something the coaches have always been impressed with him is the strength of his leg. Distance never really been the issue there.
Trying to hit him on a double move. Collins overthrows Bland. He faked the screen to Garcia. He had Bland over the top trying to get past Hunter, and he just overthrew him.
Yeah, just needed to get a little more loft on that, just try to touch it on in there. Bland had a couple steps on his defender, and that could have been 6.
So now 3rd and 10 from the 36. And this is still just about in that 4-down area where you're not really close enough for a quality field goal try. They'll pitch it to Romero. He'll try and find a corner, and he'll only get 2 yards, but more importantly, run out of bounds to stop the clock. So with 36 seconds left, you have 4th and 8 from the Apprentice 34. You're looking at a 51 or 52-yard field goal try. You'd be looking at a real chip shot of a punt. So really your only play is to keep the offense on the field, and that's what the Generals elect to do. You have 3 wide receivers. Romero comes in motion. Collins rolling out left. Air this one out. He's got Teddy Sparrow who hauls it in. The Generals strike on 4th down as Teddy Sparrow hauls in the touchdown pass from Ty Collins, and it's 27-7.
And throw it on the highlight reel. Sparrow goes up to get that one. Collins just rolls out, stays patient, lets the play develop, and you see Sparrow wide open down the field there. Collins able to just put it in a spot where only Sparrow can go up and get it. And he'll be thinking about that one for the next couple weeks. After think he's going to be talking about that one in practice for a while.
He had a catch quite similar to that one last year against Bridgewater on the Generals sideline. It just picked up a big first down as Fernandez knocks through the point after, or I should say misses the point after to the near side. So Fernandez finally does not connect on an extra point, so it stays 27-7. But Sparrow had a big catch like that for a big play against Bridgewater last year. This one, a 36-yard touchdown. I should say 34-yard touchdown from Ty Collins, and the Generals, they completed 2 passes, but 2 big plays.
Yeah, that's going to make the stat line look pretty good for Ty Collins here in this first half. Nice connection there to Sparrow, and that's why they like bringing him on the field in those situations, is he can just go up and get the ball.
Marcus Gafford ready to put it away again. Just yet another drive in which the Generals find points. 5 plays, 50 yards, used 36 seconds of game time. And now we're up by 20 points.
Yeah, these last 3 minutes have really changed the game for the Generals. Felt like they were definitely on top in this first half, but man, taking all the momentum going into the locker room at halftime.
Gafford, with his best kickoff of the day, caught at the 10-yard line by Beecham. We'll try and look for the far side, and good contain on the outside. Fidel Small, Burke Zagelski, and Steve Tricana all there for the Generals.
Excellent job getting downfield, just forcing the returner to run east and west, not north and south. So not giving any sort of good field position for the Builders here in the final 20 seconds of the half.
So now for Apprentice, you get the balls to start the second half. Things have not gone your way the last couple of minutes. You might just want to try and take this game to halftime as fast as possible.
Yeah, I think the way the last few minutes have gone here, you just hand this off and kind of regroup.
So Swanger has Taylor to his right, 2 receivers, bunched tight to the formation on either side. Swanger will look to pass over the middle. Hirakowski hauls it in. And a quick timeout by, it looks like, the Apprentice sideline. And yeah, they did call a timeout, so at least wanted to create an opportunity to get off their own goal line here. And now he'll have 13 seconds left and the ball at the 32.
Really, in this situation, you're just trying to maybe get to the 40-yard line. Going to take 5 or 6 seconds for a play to develop to put you in meaningful field goal range. Looking at Logan Eastman warming up. Looked like he had a pretty decent leg on him. Anything 50 under seemed pretty reasonable. So coaching staff working to draw something up here to try to give Eastman the opportunity. Or if they can cut something loose and get 7, try to make this scoreline a little more manageable going into half, I'm sure they wouldn't mind that either.
Eastman did make 3 field goals against Southern Virginia last week. All of them, though, were inside of 30 yards. His longest was a 26-yarder.
Well, they all count the same.
They all count the same. The Generals will go a little bit more prevent heavy here on their defensive setup. Still 4 wide receivers for the Builders. Perhaps even just try to get this close to midfield and then have one deep chance to take a deep shot at the end zone. Do have another timeout to use if they so choose. Swanger with plenty of time. He'll step up, fire deep. He's got a target, and it's Josiah Beecham. He beats the prevent defense and has a touchdown for the Builders. A 68-yard touchdown strike for Apprentice right before halftime.
Well, I was just talking about the Generals having all the momentum going in. How about this out of Apprentice? Just letting the play develop. When you're in prevent defense like that, you just can't let them behind you. And now a little bit of life for this Builders sideline going into half.
A 68-yard touchdown to Josiah Beecham. And the Builders with a big answer before halftime. The point after is good, and it's a 27-14 game. And that changes the complexion. Now Apprentice gets the ball first to start the second half. A good drive there, and you're back to a one-score game.
Yeah, so I mean, about 20 minutes ago of real time, we were talking about Apprentice going 2 for 1, and a whole lot of stuff happened in between, but you make this a 2-score game. Like you said, you come out, get another 7 on your first offensive drive of the second half. It's a pretty new football game, and a game that looked like the Generals were ready to just pull away and coast on into a nice home victory, but hold the phone on that. Now, the Generals have had some good returns so far today, so also not inconceivable they bust one to the house here.
Had 2 kickoff returns for combined 97 yards. One from Connor Lehman, the other from Wilson Axley. Lehman's went for 49, Axley's for 48. They both got him across midfield. That's the 2 players that go back deep for Washington and Lee. If you're Apprentice, you're better off just trying to squib this one, keep it on the ground, get the clock rolling, and just take this to halftime and not allow for a potential big return.
Yeah, I think squibbing would 100% be the smart play call here, but see what they try to do.
Eastman will run up to it, and he'll just keep it on the ground, and the Generals will just fall on it right as where it landed at the 33-yard line. Some pushing and shoving after the whistle as well. It was number 10, Emmanuel Patterson, pushing and shoving with Dryden Duggins. That'll leave 1 second on the clock. And for Washington and Lee, either take a shot or just take a knee.
See how they line up here.
Looks like it's just going to be taking a knee and taking this game to halftime. As Ty Collins will get under center and just take a knee. As Washington and Lee will take a 13-point lead into the halftime break. The Generals up 27-14 over Apprentice, led by as many as 20. A Builders long touchdown before the half. And it is a 13-point advantage for Washington and Lee in their home opener.
Yeah, solid half top to bottom for the Generals. You'd like to not give up that big play right there at the end, but overall have to be pretty happy. Some big plays on defense, big plays on offense, big plays on special teams. Kind of all phases of the ball really getting it done for the Generals so far.
So we will have our halftime interview with senior captain Uno Christopher during the halftime break. We'll also get you the first half stats, some highlights, and get you ready for the second half between Washington and Lee and Apprentice. The Generals in front of the Builders, 27-14, here on the Washington and Lee Sports Network.
Proportion to me is the lived experience of our Division III student athletes. They balance life from an academic perspective and the rigors of competing at a high level, bonding with teammates and building lifelong friendships. But they also are involved in their communities. They work jobs and internships and volunteer. They've learned to be resilient. Diverse experiences are setting them up for the future.
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you going forward. Seeing
So you're finally here, senior year. Can you believe that when you walked onto campus, you'd be in this spot so quickly?
No, honestly. It's just gone by so fast. I've been fortunate, to get accepted into the school, and just the amount of relationships and friendships I've built over the past 4 years has been great. But, it felt like I was just last year in games, just making friends, having fun. But now it's just senior year, the last ride.
Second year as a captain of the team as well. What responsibility have you taken on as a leader, not only last year, but also carrying that over into this year as the returning captain?
Yeah, I saw a glimpse of it last year. I had the other captains who were seniors, they kind of took most of it. But just being that vocal leader, I've kind of had that my entire life, really just kind of standing out, being that leader in that aspect. But giving respect to the guys last year, I kind of took a step back. But this year, just kind of being more of that vocal leader and just, asking questions, making sure everybody's on the same page, offensively, defensively, special teams, just keeping everybody together. And that aspect, the other two captains that we have as well, doing a great job, and I'm excited for the season.
Last year, a solid season, 8-3, postseason bowl game appearance. What are some of the team's goals this year in 2024?
Yeah, so all preseason, we've been having, the motto, go big. We're wanting to be the last 40 teams standing at the end of the year, and we just have, a grit and kind of a bad taste in our mouth from last year, how the season ended, and we're really excited to get after it, bouncing back this weekend with Apprentice, but really excited and having just kind of a grit mindset of going after each week one by one and taking down our opponents.
One of the biggest highlights of this year is a chance to really hit the road and travel next week to Texas to take on Trinity. What's it like to have an opportunity to travel and your team take on a completely different experience by going somewhere that you guys have not really gotten to go before?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I've never been to San Antonio. I've been around, Dallas and other outskirts of Dallas as well. But going into San Antonio, it's going to be fun, just kind of like the traveling aspect, getting to hop on the plane with your teammates. But, Trinity, they're a great football program, and it's going to be, a tough matchup between us two. It's going to be really fun. I'm excited, but we'll get to that after we get through this weekend.
Outside of football, you're involved in a lot of different other things on campus. Can you just tell people at home maybe some of the different things you're involved with and how they have shaped your Doing All experience?
Yeah, so I'm a part of a few different clubs, helped bring back a fraternity here, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. That was last year in spring 23. So being a part of that, being the secretary was pretty cool. Just kind of getting everything back in the rolling and, bringing that diversity aspect back to the campus. And I'm also the president of Black Male Initiative, BMI, just kind of bringing around, all the African Americans, law school and undergrad, and just kind of giving that, social aspect and space to, speak freely or just, talk to make friends. And, part of the outdoor club, I haven't really got to participate a lot of that, but I've done some hiking, I've been on the Chessie, but I'm excited to, kind of dig into more of that after the season's over and once I have some more free time. But, yeah, very involved, just love, making relationships with everybody around campus and just trying to, give back to the community as much as possible.
It's hard to think of postgraduate life still trying to take in your senior year as it just got underway. But any plans or things you want to accomplish after graduation?
Yeah, so this past summer I interned at a software testing company, Tricentis, out in Tyson's DC area, and that's kind of like, the tech sales, BDR position and that aspect. But I'm really excited and looking forward to going back there after this year. So just kind of getting into that industry. I really had a lot of learning experiences throughout my time there and, doing that, but also, extracurriculars outside of just work, trying to get my golf game up. Love playing golf. So a lot of the guys in the office love going out after a long day of work. So really excited, looking forward to that.
All right, we have reached the rapid fire
Thank you.
Student success goes far beyond grades. Yes, students want to come and they want to achieve in their classrooms, but they also want to learn all of those things that are going to stay with them for the rest of their lives.
I would say the majority of Washington Lee students are, in addition to taking their classes, also at least part of 3 or 4 clubs.
When I got to this campus, I would have described myself as this really shy person who, yes, did theater and could perform on stage, but couldn't talk to people one-on-one. Now I'm the social chair of 3 different organizations on campus. Really, the transformation is just completely crazy.
While academics is first and we are student athletes, the professors here at WNL also want you to succeed in your athletic commitments. And so being able to work with the professors so you're able to get everything that you want out of your athletic commitments while also being academically successful as well.
I'm in a fraternity. It's been a really good opportunity, and I've grown really close with the guys who joined at the same time as me. Being around them being some of my best friends, has really just allowed me to grow as though we were a family together.
Of my really close friends, I would say that at least 2
Back here at halftime at Wilson Field on the campus of Washington and Lee University. The Generals football team playing their home opener here in 2024, and Washington and Lee has a 27-14 lead over the Newport News Apprentice School Builders. Ryan Conlon, Andrew Arnold with you on the Washington and Lee Sports Network as we take a look at some of the first half stats. Apprentice 250 yards through the air for senior quarterback Cole Swanger. However, negative 17 yards on the ground will only account for 233 yards of total offense. As for Washington Lee, 74 yards through the air for Ty Collins on a pair of receptions, a 40-yard catch from Garcia, a 34-yard touchdown pass to Teddy Sparrow, 123 yards on the ground for the Generals' rushing attack. Both teams not the best on third down conversion thus far, but the Generals and Builders have each turned it over once. Some of the biggest plays in this game, though, have come on at full strength, not on turnovers necessarily. A blocked punt return for a touchdown for Washington and Lee, a 68-yard touchdown pass in the final seconds of the first half for the Apprentice, and some big momentum shifts throughout that second quarter.
Yeah, you look at these halftime stats, it's kind of hard to really tell the story of this game just based off those numbers alone. It really has been kind of those detailed points of execution. You talk about the blocked punt, the Generals giving up that touchdown right at the end of the second half. It's just kind of these small blown plays where they turn into really explosive moments. And when you're kind of going into halftime as a coach, it can kind of frustrate you when you're doing a lot of the hard things right. Hey, let's execute on the easy stuff as well and make sure we're still taking care of our business there. And it starts on special teams, it starts on defense, and on offense just continuing to establish the run is there. Probably the biggest momentum shift of that first half. That blocked punt scoop and scored from Marcus Payne.
And for the Builders, right before halftime, a big play for them as well. A 68-yard touchdown pass from Grant Swanger to Josiah Beecham down the far side. Gets past the Generals' prevent defense and makes this back to a two-score game. And with the Builders getting the ball here to start the second half first, it's definitely a play that if they're able to use it, really gets themselves back into this game by scoring right before halftime and getting the ball first here in the second half.
Yeah, I think the most concerning thing on the Builders side offensively, you saw the passing yards. They've been able to be very dynamic through the air, but negative 17 rushing yards. The Generals have been able to get home and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
And Marcus Gafford's kick, unfavorable bounce at the 5-yard line. Too much side spin, it rolls out of play, and it'll be the third kickoff of the day for the Generals that ends up out of bounds, and we'll have Apprentice start at the 35-yard line.
Yeah, literally a tough bounce there. That was the farthest kick of the day, looked like, and getting inside the 5-yard line just unfortunately bounces out of bounds, so the Builders will start on the 35.
Grant Swanger, 12 of 19 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in that first half for Apprentice. With that big play to Beecham on a 68-yard touchdown right before halftime. Came with 3 seconds left in the first half to really help Apprentice end what was a domino run in that second quarter where all the momentum was on the Generals' side. Swanger drops back to pass to start the second half, and it goes right through the hands of Ty Taylor.
Classic case of looking upfield just a little too early before he secured the catch. Generals get away with one a little bit there. Didn't really have a linebacker in the vicinity. That could have been a larger play on first down there to start the second half.
So Swanger and the Builders, 2nd and 10 from the 35. Not really gotten TK Petty going. Receiver who had 3 touchdown catches last week against Southern Virginia. Both their running backs, Taylor and Kamari Moore, who each had 125-plus yards last week, have not done much on the ground, and now they take a timeout, unable to get the play call through.
And not what you want 3 seconds into the second half, already giving up that timeout, because that sort of material resource right there can prove to be precious, especially when you're down in a game. If you're needing to try to have a comeback late, that can really hurt you.
So as the Generals defensively trying to keep things in front of them, they've done well at stopping the run, but a couple of those big pass plays over the top. Beecham has both touchdowns for Apprentice. He's got 5 catches for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns, including that 68-yard touchdown right before halftime. He's been the most effective wide receiver, McKeegan Hiriowski. Also 5 catches for 78 yards to help lead the way for the Builders.
And just through half of football as well. Pretty impressive.
Generals bring 4. Stepping up, Swanger over the middle. He's got his man. It's TK Petty. Petty with some speed down the sideline inside the 10. And Jalen Todd will bring him down there.
Good job by Todd not giving up on the play as Charlie Fleming gets kind of locked up in a block here. Again, the Builders continue to have success through the air.
So just sliding right through the middle of the zone defense. 1 missed tackle. Gets caught up in some blocks and a big play for Petty down the sideline. And just as we mentioned, he has not been able to get involved yet today. He gets his first touch there. So that's a 1st and goal for Apprentice at the Washington Elite 7. Swanger, handoff. Taylor stood up at the 5-yard line. Or it's not a bomb at the bottom of that pile. His helmet pop off as well. Brennan Stout also in there on the tackle. Uno Christopher in the area. And then Apprentice offensive lineman down. And in a world of pain. It looks to be the right tackle, Nathan Jedlick, a senior from Virginia Beach. Grabbing at that left leg. Down by the Generals' 5-yard line.
Now just a minute into the second half, you feel the momentum continuing to shift. You have the Fernandez missed extra point, makes it just a 13-point game. Builders are knocking on the door just about a minute into the second half. Would have the chance to take the lead if the Generals aren't able to get anything on offense. So if the Generals aren't careful here, this game can start to slip.
So Jedlick, right tackle for Apprentice, getting looked at by the athletic training staff. Builders just trying to continue to build on that second half and not being able to really put any pressure on that left leg as Jedlick as he limps his way towards the visiting sideline. So the senior right tackle from Virginia Beach will have to be helped off.
Yeah, looking like maybe some sort of ankle sprain at the bottom of that pile. Maybe just got rolled not quite the right way.
The Builders come back out, and you don't know anything about the Newport News Apprentice School. Is some grueling work. They build ships for the Navy, aircraft carriers, submarines. It is heavy work, and these guys put in a full hour, 7 to 3:30 during the day, and come to football practice for 2 hours after that. It's a unique postgraduate experience, higher education. They have a chance here on 2nd and goal. Swanger, touchdown, TK Petty. Wide open in the end zone. And the Builders, their 2nd touchdown here in about 2 minutes of game time, have brought this back to a 1-score game.
Yeah, taking another look here at the replay. You're just going to see he gets completely lost in the back of the end zone. The receivers cross, and that gives enough space for that to be an easy pitch and catch for the touchdown. Now a decently important extra point here to try to give the Builders an opportunity to take the lead on their next score if they're able to hold the Generals.
Eastman kicks it through. Had the play clock winding down. They were late getting out on the field, was Apprentice. But Eastman got his steps lined off, knocks it through, and it's now a 6-point game. 27-21, 13:41 left here in the third quarter. As Apprentice takes just over a minute to score to start the second half. A 5-yard touchdown pass from Grant Swanger to TK Petty. 4 plays, 65 yards.
And boy, I mean, how quickly things can change. The Generals take a 20-point lead, about a minute left in the first half. Builders are able to get that broken play, bust one for a touchdown right at the end, and now march down in just under 90 seconds to start the second half and to cut this to a one-score game.
Connor Lehman and Wilson Axley back deep to receive for the Generals. We mentioned what they've been able to do on special teams. Each guy with a return of 48 and 49 yards respectively. And the only other kickoff, the Generals just landed on it in the final seconds of the first half. See if perhaps special teams could come through for WNL here again. Eastman's kick forces Axley back to his own 2-yard line. Wilson Axley met at the 28-yard line, and a big stick by the defender. As that was number 10, Emmanuel Patterson, as well as Sincere Hawkins, stopping the first-year Axley.
Yeah, big booming kickoff there. Had a decent hang time to it, too, so by the time Axley's able to kind of start his return, Builders are already pretty well down the field.
1st and 10 for Washington and Lee at their own 28-yard line. Their lead has been cut all the way down to 6. They led 27-7 late in the second quarter. Not even 90 seconds into the third quarter. It's back to 6 points. Ty Collins in the shotgun here as Marcus Payne goes in motion. Generals run option to the left. Collins upended by the defender in Hawkins after a 2-yard gain.
Gotta wonder what happens if he might pitch that there. Ian was driving his man pretty far down the field. Looks like Romero would have had a good amount of space.
Evans, the lone receiver, split out wide to the right of the formation for the Generals. Garcia and Payne, the slot backs. Romero behind Collins out of the shotgun. Garcia in motion. Romero gets past one defender. He's tackled at the 36-yard line, and it brings up 3rd and short here for the Washington Lee offense.
A big third down here for the offense, too. You can't go 3 and out after giving up 14 unanswered across the end of the second quarter to now.
Generals just 2 of 7 on 3rd down here this afternoon against Apprentice. Romero has a hole. Jacob Romero in a foot race. Jacob Romero, 64 yards for the touchdown. And the senior captain strikes right back.
And what a great blocking job here on the inside by the Generals' offensive line. Look at them just open up this hole for Romero to burst through. And by the time the safeties are coming down to make the tackle, they're having to bend laterally. And Romero is able to just take it all the way in with the speed. And kind of reminds me, thinking back to the last time Builders were here 2 years ago, it was kind of a close game. The Generals weren't really able to put the Builders away until Romero busted a really long touchdown in that game, and got to wonder if maybe that's the momentum the Generals need now.
64-yard touchdown run for Jacob Romero. Michael Fernandez knocks through the extra point, and Washington Lee goes back up by 2 scores. They lead at 34-21.
It looks like they're going to hand Fernandez the tee as well, so making an in-game change for the kickoff here.
So Apprentice takes 4 plays to go 65 yards to start the half with a touchdown. Washington Lee, 3 plays, 72 yards with an answer. We've had 2 touchdowns in the first 3 minutes.
I got to love a little bit of college football for you, huh?
It's very much similar to how the second quarter ended. A lot of change of possession over the last 3 minutes in that second quarter. Seemed like the pace of this game was cruising right along in the first quarter and change, and things came to really a halt late in that second quarter as both teams kept trading possessions back and forth.
And it is kind of funny because you really haven't gotten that patented Washington Elite Generals offensive drive where it's that 7 or 8 minutes. It's the 5 yards of play. You're working your way down the field, wearing the defense down, and then punching it in. Haven't really had that today. You've seen the Generals offense start on good field position, have explosive plays, And hey, if you can get it done quicker, why not?
Michael Fernandez, high kick. At that time by Kamari Moore. He is stood up right at the 20-yard line. J.D. Matson, number 45 for the Generals, delivering the blow. First and 10 here for Apprentice. Just as they cut it back to one score, Washington Lee races it back up to 13.
Now we'll see if this Generals secondary can try to find something here. Maybe stop this lethal passing attack from the Builders.
And they just get the play off before the play clock expires. And a dangerous pass from Swinger to Taylor. He was falling down. Alan Hagler was bearing down. If that ball tipped up, it was in his hands, and he had a clear path for a touchdown.
Sure, Hagler wouldn't have minded a little two-interception day as well.
That was just another offensive snap in which it took the Builders a while to get the play off, and they got it off just before the play clock struck zero. We've seen that a few times today. Swanger will now dump it off for Taylor. Zigzagging through the defense. Enough yardage for another first down, as that's a pitch and catch for 11 yards.
Yeah, still no real signs of any sort of kind of tempo from the Builders. Like you're mentioning, very content just to kind of slow things down, dribble down the clock, and make sure they're all set, ready to go before they're executing their plays.
Swanger drops back again. Pressure as Christopher got to him. Just had to throw it away. That time was Swanger as he was knocked down.
That's kind of been the recipe for the Generals' success on defense, is when they're able to get some pressure on Swanger, help out their secondary a little bit by making the quarterback uncomfortable.
Swanger 15 of 25 for 324 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. He's also been sacked 4 times. There's a flag down and a false start penalty coming against the Builders.
Kind of another self-inflicted penalty here for the Builders and moving them back. They've definitely made it harder for themselves throughout today at different junctures, be it the false start, be it a delay of game, or even a hold.
So 2nd and 15 from their own 28. Another swing pass to the running back and Taylor, and he gets back the 5 yards or so. The penalty, a flag behind the play. We'll see who that's on. Mood pleading his case, and it's going to be a hold against Jack Klingerman of Apprentice, and that'll be at least another 10 yards further back here for the Builders.
Just as I talk about those self-inflicted penalties, it's kind of been both kinds. You have ones between the whistles, a couple of inopportunely timed holds, that is, and in addition, those delay games and false start penalties. Well, the Builders have had a lot of success through the air today, and it seems like anytime the Generals start to sit back, try to keep the play in front of them, the Builders are able to unload a pretty large chunk of yardage, but that's what it's going to take for them to get a first down over these next couple plays as well.
2nd and 25 from their own 18. The first down marker is all the way at the 43. Swanger steps up over the middle and off the hands of Charlie Fleming. The intended target, number 15, Eduardo Rios.
Saw Fleming come flying down, preparing to make a tackle or try to break up the pass, and kind of has to readjust his body at the last second to try to make that interception play. Hits him in the hands, but not an easy catch by any means.
So 3rd and 25 and false start. for the Builders as they're going to get pushed back another 5 yards.
Can't have a false start there. They haven't run a play with that much time left on the play clock, I don't think, all day.
So now they will have 3rd and 30 from their own 13.
The Generals have been pretty good on 3rd down defensively today. Got to get off the field here.
Builders just 3 of 8 on 3rd down. A late handoff for Taylor. Fighting for extra yardage and does well to get about 10 yards or so. It's still going to be 4th and plenty of distance as the punting unit will take the field. This is a eerily similar spot for Apprentice punting from where they had their kick blocked and returned for a touchdown.
You'll notice part of it really, the fault doesn't totally lie with Eastman on kind of the operation time there. You're going to watch this long snap takes a while to get to him.
Eastman back to punt. Generals jumped. The punt is away. And Wilson Axley calls a fair catch for it at the 44. We'll see if the Builders elect to repunt or not. It looked like Marcus Payne had jumped off sides on the far side of the formation.
It is kind of an interesting decision when you've already had a punt blocked. How concerned are you just to have gotten it away cleanly? Looks like they're going to do it again.
You'll have a chance to at least walk it up 5 yards and try and pin them deep, a little further deeper back. And then after all said and done, the penalty will, I guess, be declined.
So never mind.
So instead, they'll walk it off at the end of the play and force it on where the ball was fair caught. So we'll add it to the end of the catch. A fair catch, I should say. And so it'll be 1st and 10 from the 39.
Quarterback change for the Generals.
Ian Gallimore gets some snaps here for Washington and Lee. First year from Mount Airy, North Carolina. We'll hand off for Fidel Small. Small across the 50. Pounding his way ahead to the 42. A gain of 19 yards.
Nice gain there on 1st down from Small, just kind of bouncing off guys and staying upright.
A chance to work Ian Gallimore in. He was a running back mainly in high school, turned into quarterback here with the Generals in his first season. Left-handed. Chance to give him some reps working against the option, and Apprentice will use their 2nd time out of the half.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see either. Talked about burning that timeout just 3 seconds into the half earlier. Now with only 1 timeout left, down 13. That stuff can really matter. It'll be nice for the Generals to run some offense without Collins, because you just never know what kind of injuries or any extenuating circumstances can come up. So always good to make sure the guys behind are ready to go, and especially for a guy who's converting from running back to quarterback, definitely some very important reps here.
And a chance to really work in, the option offense as well. A chance, something that, yes, he gets, a chance to do that in practice pretty much every day, but being able to work with some of the other guys that are, in first string at their position, some different combinations of faces and players working together here for Washington and Lee. Give this to Anthony Crawford. He has room, and he bulldozes his way ahead. 9 yards on 1st down for Anthony Crawford.
When you talk about such a mentally tough position like quarterback, yeah, you might be able to get it done in practice, but I'm sure it means a lot to these coaches to really see it in a game and make sure you can still make that decision-making in that kind of live, real-action environment.
Gallimore gives to Crawford, and he gets back right to the line of scrimmage. Just no room to operate that time. A lot of bodies at the bottom of that pile. Darius Carney in there. So too is Chase Gaines.
Game's been a little chippy at points. Wonder if that will maybe pick up towards more the end of this game. And so I was talking about, we hadn't really had that Generals drive of ground them and pound them, take some time off the clock. We're trying to put one together here.
3rd and 1. The Washington Lee offense. Anthony Crawford's the right of Ian Gallimore. And it looks like a false start. And Ty Collins will come back in for the Generals here at 3rd and 6.
So you try to go get the first down starter.
Let's try and keep a drive alive. One that started here at 9:57. Chance to push it to over 3 minutes on this drive. The Generals pick up the first down. Collins with Crawford. And he'll pound straight ahead with the sophomore running back. He gets 3 yards, and that brings up 4th and short.
Feels like a similar situation to earlier where it was kind of that 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and they just run it up the middle. Maybe it's sort of almost a setup play, understanding they're going to go for it on 4th down regardless.
We'll bring in Michael Schoenberg at running back. As Crawford comes off. 4th and about 2. Bunch to look for the Generals. Sigelski in motion. Play action. Collins airs it out. Small the other end. And it's a touchdown. Washington and Lee strikes on play action on 4th down. And the Generals come through.
Wow, what a play call there from Coach Raposa. On 4th and short, decides to bust out the play action once more. All 3 Generals players were open. I think Will Nisley's probably a little bit disappointed that ball didn't come to him. Didn't even have a defender covering him. Just had both tight ends slip and Small also able to get out in front and collect Collins' pass for the touchdown.
I'll send Michael Fernandez out for the extra point. A 34-yard touchdown from Ty Collins to Fidel Small, capped off by the point after by Michael Fernandez. And Washington Lee, for the second time today, leads by 20. It's 41-21. An efficient day through the air for Ty Collins. 3 for 5 for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has 3 completions, none of them shorter than 34 yards. 2 34-yard touchdown passes and a 40-yard completion to Josh Garcia.
Well, that's a Generals quarterback stat line if I've ever heard one. Don't pass much in this offense, but really try to take advantage of it and bust a big play when they do. And that's exactly what it's been today, setting up that play action. Just so deadly, and especially on that 4th and short there. Really like that play call. You know the defense is biting. Again, all 3 guys were open.
Already the 5th passing touchdown for Ty Collins this year. He had 3 last weekend against Salisbury. So 5 touchdowns and 1 pick through his first about a game and a half as the General starting quarterback. Off to a good start for a team that is heavily influenced by the run offensively. Michael Fernandez waits to boot it away. This is a low punt that really just rolls. Trying to make something happen is Xavier Hunter, and there's not much working for him. A couple players get tangled up over each other. And a few flags down behind the play. We'll wait for the refs to sort things out, but with 6:39 left here in the 3rd quarter, and Washington and Lee up again by 20. Apprentice will get the ball back, trailing by 3 scores.
Kind of a game of lightning quick changes. I mean, just about 7 minutes of game clock ago, this was a 6-point game. Catch that, Ryan?
Not much of that, Andrew. I couldn't really tell you a whole lot that happened there from the referee, but the way that it looks like, they're spotting this ball backwards. So that means it's a penalty against Apprentice. And it appears to be spotted at the 10-yard line. So a long way to go here for the Builders. 1st and 10 from their own 10.
Yeah, the chippiness after the play, again, hurting the Builders. Talked about there, but a few moments of tempers flaring so far, and we might see more as this game might start to get more out of hand. And I think if you're the Generals defense now, it's time to make a little bit more of a statement.
So Grant Swanger still in at quarterback for Apprentice. He's been under pressure a lot. He escapes out of this one, and flags fly in late. Coverage by Alan Hagler a little too good on Kendrick Overton.
I don't know how catchable that pass was anyways, but when you're all over the guy like that, the refs are always going to throw the flag.
Yeah, you got the backhand on the back hip. You're diving across the front of their body, and you spin them around while trying to make a play on the ball. It's hard to sell as not defensive holding or pass interference. So
two penalties on the Builders there.
Yeah, so there was an illegal motion, a offensive holding, and then with the defensive pass interference, since they both equal 15 yards, it's a net neutral there. It'll just be first down again, 1st and 10 at the 10. So just redo it all over.
I was going to make a comment because it just seemed like it was taking the officiating crew a long time there just to call pass interference, not realizing that there were 2 other penalties on the play.
So they'll just redo it all over. 1st and 10 from the 10-yard line. Empty set again for Swanger. 4 wide receivers at the top of the formation. Generals bring 5-man pressure. Swanger just going to loft one up. O'Malley is there to pick it off. 2nd interception of the day from the Washington Elite defense. This one from Connor O'Malley.
Now watch O'Malley track this ball through the air. Playing DB becomes the wide receiver immediately on this play in the way that he sees this ball right out of the quarterback's hands, gets under it, tracks it, keeps his eyes in the backfield, is able to just haul it in for the interception. So another turnover for the Builders. Turns good field position for the Generals.
2nd interception of the day for Washington and Lee. One for either starting cornerback. Alan Hagler had the first, Connor O'Malley the second. 1st and 10 for Washington and Lee offensively at the Builders' 48-yard line. And Gallimore back in at quarterback for Washington and Lee. He'll fake the pitch, keep it himself, lower his shoulder, get through one tackle. He has room on the outside, going to keep pushing ahead, and he's knocked out of bounds at the 29-yard line. There were some flags, and it looks like some potential holding, especially on the outside, closest to the near sideline.
Yeah, it looks like this one's probably coming back, unfortunately, for the Generals.
Another conference of officials right in the center of the field. Discuss this call, but you can see what Ian Gallimore is capable out of the backfield for Washington and Lee. Mentioned his running back is kind of the position he's used to playing. Showing that. So a personal foul for targeting against Apprentice.
It was a weird spot for the flag on the field for it to be a hold, so kind of adds up that it was something else there.
So they will walk that off from the end of the run. So that's from the 29, add 15 more. And that'll take you all the way to the 14-yard line.
Yeah, good becomes great there for the Generals. Just able to march it immediately into the red zone.
So after a gain of 19 by Gallimore, you tack on the 15 more for the penalty, and it's 1st and 10 for Washington Lee at the 14. Michael Schoenberg gets the handoff, and he grabs 6 yards on 1st down.
Nice block there from Kalen Graham on the inside, really paving the way.
Generals moving Kalen Graham, who last year was their center, now over to one of those guard spots. And with Tyler Holliday at the other guard, that is 2 powerful guys opening up the hole offensively. And another offsides penalty against Apprentice as Richard Phipps jumps yet again and knocks over Mason Ryan.
Fortunately, Ryan just kind of shrugs it off. At some point, it does have to be a little frustrating. Say, hey, quit hitting me before the play there.
So should create 1st and goal for Washington and Lee, as the ball will be started at the 4-yard line.
Like you were saying, moving Graham from center to that guard position, he just looks a lot more comfortable there. Had some trouble with the snaps last year, and seems like this is maybe just a better fit for him.
Michael Schoenberg through for 6. There's a flag on the far side of the field. Well, Michael Schoenberg pumps in the touchdown for the Generals. So, call does not affect the outcome of the play. And Washington Lee has blown this one open. It's now 47-21. So Fernandez out to try and finish the job on this extra point. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is through. So Fernandez 6 of 7 on extra points. And Washington Lee up by 27 with 5:10 left here in the 3rd quarter. And Andrew, this game has taken quite a different shape from where it was after the opening drive of the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, wow. I mean, back and forth. Again, hard to believe within this same quarter. It was a 6-point game. Again, a 6-point game within this same quarter. It felt like the Builders were maybe mounting something there, but like I kind of said, similar to 2 years ago when they came to Lexington, you have Jacob Romero bust that big run, and then that was kind of all she wrote, and it felt like that was the final nail in the coffin in terms of momentum to just really put the Generals out in front. The secondaries looked a little better here in this second half, getting another pick, and when you're able to give your offense good field position and you're able to run the ball like the Generals have today, it's a pretty good recipe for success.
Well, here on Young Alumni Weekend, a nice crowd on hand at Wilson Field. 48-21. Generals of Washington in front of the Builders of the Newport News Apprentice School. Ryan Connell, Andrew Arnold with you on the Washington Lee Sports Network. You know, getting contributions up and down the roster today. Touchdowns for Jacob Romero, Anthony Crawford, Michael Schoenberg, Marcus Payne, Fidel Small, Teddy Sparrow, and a blocked punt return for a touchdown that Payne also picked up and brought in. This not the best kickoff by the Generals as the Builders get it across the 35, and they will take over 1st and 10 just shy of their own 40-yard line.
Yeah, kickoff struggles kind of continuing for the Generals here. Hernandez had a good first boot, and the second one wasn't pretty, but it worked, and then this third one not quite what he wanted.
So 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line, 5:03 to play here in the 3rd quarter. Grant Swinger still in there for Apprentice at quarterback. He's thrown for 324 yards and 3 touchdowns, has a couple of interceptions as well. The Builders have had not much of a running game, as that's brought in by the receiver number 83, Ty Morris for Apprentice.
Bring the ball down to the 39-yard line. Second down and 6 for the Builders.
The Builders just trying to put something together here in the third quarter. Things started so promising when they scored in 4 plays coming out of halftime, cut it to a 6-point game, and just like what happened in the final few minutes of the second quarter, things really got away from them here in the third. Swanger. And a nice catch by Josiah Beecham. And a reach up and grab that one. And it's enough to move the chains.
Yeah, great job holding on to that, too. I mean, Lujan was trying to break that up, just kind of getting his hand in there, and still able to just hold on. Pretty impressive.
Beecham has been the top target for Swanger today. 7 catches, over 150 yards receiving. Christopher, good rush off the edge, gets through. The Swanger throwing deep. Jump ball batted away by Hagler, and the flag flies late from the field judge. What is probably going to be pass interference on Alan Hagler.
Guess they're saying he didn't break free soon enough there and let the receiver go. Definitely frustrating because he goes up and makes the pretty good athletic play on the ball.
I think the thing that hurts him is how that ball was underthrown as the defender. Even if you're not in like illegal defensive positioning, being underthrown and the receiver having to reach over you makes it just so much easier of a call.
Kind of have to let the receiver come back a little bit almost. Fortunately, not a spot foul in the college game.
Just 15 yards and an automatic first down. So, 1st and 10 from the Washington Lee 39, where the Builders have it. Just over 3.5 minutes to play here in the third. Swanger again looking back to the sideline, changing the call once again. Swanger stays in the pocket, goes up top, and 2 W&L players run into each other trying to pick it off. O'Malley and Alan Gashu on a collision course for each other, and neither of them could come up with that one.
Yeah, and that's going to be a frustrating one to look back on in the film room. Hope O'Malley doesn't give him too hard of a time because he was primed for his 2nd interception of the game right there.
2nd and 10 from the 39. And Apprentice has all but abandoned the run game at this point. And -6 yards on the ground. Generals get home with 3 men of pressure, and again, pass broken up. Uno Christopher and Brennan Stout. As the anticipated target that time was Ty Taylor out of the backfield.
The Generals are able to really just bring 3 or 4. They're able to still get pressure on the quarterback while dropping everyone else into coverage because, like you said, pretty much abandoned the run. Granted, they're down 27, so definitely have to move the ball through the air, but still a decent amount of time left. Can maybe have a little bit more of a balanced attack.
Will Knight, Will Mahmood, Malik Hardy, the 3 guys really doing most of the pass rushing for the Generals. Here they'll bring a blitz and bring 5. They find the tight end, Lee Ufau, and Lee Ufau is tackled a few yards short of the line to gain, and so I'll bring up 4th down here for Apprentice.
Pretty nice job there from O'Malley, not trying to wrap up too high, just going right for the knees and securing the tackle. So big 4th down now here for the Builders. Need to convert.
4th and 4 for Apprentice. They're once again quick to the line. Pretty much what that does is allow Washington Lee not to sub really anybody. Here's Swanger on 4th down, trying to stand in. He'll go short. Taylor can't catch it. O'Malley picks it off after it's bobbled, takes it out to midfield, and the Generals have their 3rd turnover of the day.
Well, there's your 2nd interception, Mr. O'Malley. What a play there. Heads up play from O'Malley just to track the ball and stay with it. What a turnover on 4th down.
You saw like there was going to be a potential holding. Jalen Todd delivering the boom. And it pops right into the hands of Connor O'Malley, who has his 2nd interception of the day. A combo effort by the Generals there defensively, as a pair of seniors make that play happen.
Yeah, Todd just lights him up there. What a hit.
So Washington leads offense able to get back on the field, and once again in good field position starting at midfield. Ian Gallimore in at quarterback. Still have 2.5 minutes to play here in the 3rd quarter. Schoenberg knocked ahead for 5 yards on 1st down. Generals who've already put 21 points on the board here in the 3rd. Push their lead to 27. They forced a couple of interceptions here in the 2nd half, both of which by Connor O'Malley. And now really have a chance to do what they do best, work with a lead, run the ball, and eat clock. Gallimore. The delayed pitch for Schoenberg. Nice catch by the sophomore tailback, and he gets dragged ahead for 6 yards. There's a flag back behind the play where that ball got pitched from. Gallimore read the play really well, saw the hole, got past the first defender, and then had a chance to try and pitch it out to the running back.
That can be a really nice part of the option offense, is that delayed pitch. When you still have that outside guy there, the quarterback makes that decision to cut upfield. They still have that slot back on the outside, so have a heads-up play there. I'm sure it had Coach Raposa holding his breath for just a moment, though.
Benny Nina needs some help getting back to his feet for Apprentice, as he'll be helped off. The leading tacklers for this Apprentice squad, the junior from Spring Lake, North Carolina. Just a little ginger getting to the sideline. Talks about the Newport News Apprentice School a little bit before. Obviously, a different postgraduate experience. You get a 2-year associate's degree, but also get a guaranteed job if you complete your coursework in a trade of 18 different trade options. You are put into a full-time job at the shipyard in Newport News upon completion of the program. So the flag on that last play was a holding call that pushes the Generals back to 2nd and 15. Zagelski in motion. Gallimore will keep it. He'll run the option to the left. Gallimore has space and a hole. Ian Gallimore down to the 20-yard line. A 35-yard run for the first-year quarterback. That's another big offensive play for the Generals.
Michael Dangler over there, maybe getting rolled up on at the end of that play, looking like that left ankle.
So Dangler will be helped to the sideline by the Generals. And he was not really being able to bear much weight on that left leg. So one of the impactful players along the WNL offensive line rolled up on that big rush by Gallimore, which sets WNL up in the red zone.
Boy, is Gallimore explosive. I mean, that's got to be one of the big takeaways from the couple drives he's had so far. When he keeps it, gets downfield, you do not want to let that guy into open space by any means.
It seemed to be one of the things that the WNL coaching staff was excited about. Yes, he had not really had much quarterback experience, as 5 yards on first down from Michael Schoenberg brings it to the 15. But being able for him to see things as a running back and run the option offense, learning parts of the quarterback position can come with that, but just having that natural ability as a runner could make him very dangerous in this setting.
Yeah, it feels like he's really made some great decisions as well on the option, when he's decided to keep, when he's decided to pitch. Just looks very comfortable, I guess. Again, for a guy who comes from that running back background and is new to this offense.
Ariel cut it back on 2nd and 5 and pick up 4 more yards. So the Generals will have 3rd and short, and see if they'll even elect to get another play off before the end of the 3rd quarter. And it looks like we'll get the stop sign from offensive coordinator Matt Raposa down on the WNL sideline as they will head off. Washington and Lee puts 21 points across here in the 3rd quarter, opens up their lead to 27 after 3. They lead at 48-21. We'll have the 4th quarter between the Generals and Builders when we return on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. Start of the 4th quarter here at Wilson Field. Washington and Lee ahead 48-21 on the Newport News' Apprentice School as the Generals are driving 3rd and 2 at the Builders' 12-yard line. Ryan Connell, Andrew Arnold with you on the Washington and Lee Sports Network. Ian Gallimore, the quarterback here for WNL, with Anthony Crawford behind him. Olsen actually comes in motion. Crawford straight up the middle on 3rd down. And he is fighting for extra yardage and in for the touchdown. Staying on his feet and scoring for the 2nd time today is Anthony Crawford.
And watch this effort here from Anthony Crawford, because there's nothing else about it. Makes a couple of nice cuts in the middle of the field, kind of spins out of a tackle, but he ends up just fighting to get into the end zone there. He's first met with some really hard contact around the 3-4 yard line and just refuses to give up, continues to churn his legs, and gets rewarded with 6.
Generals score their 8th touchdown of the day, 7th offensively. Bad snap. Ashons on the rollout and through the hands of the target. Oh, Will Nisley on the other hand. It was a bad snap. Ashons read it well, had to try and throw it away, and unable to haul it in was Nisley as he's kicking himself heading back to the sideline.
Oh, man. Ashon's a high school quarterback, recruited to WNL as a quarterback, has played a few different positions at his time here. The most consistent part of his game, though, is he's been the holder for the team throughout all his 4 years. A few years for the lefty Arturo Ramirez, now for the lefty Michael Fernandez, and delivers what could have been a strike to the end zone. Unfortunately, Will Nisley unable to come up with it. I'm sure that will be brought up later this evening a couple times as the two chat briefly on the sideline.
A couple of seniors just looking for any sort of connection there on what was, a bad snap, a broken play. Just make something happen. And just that close to making it happen.
The roommates got to have better chemistry than that. Got to get the connection there.
Marcus Gafford will walk this one off. He'll return for the kickoff duties for Washington Lee. He started with kickoffs. Michael Fernandez got a couple cracks at it. And now Gafford will get another go. This one his best of the day as it will land right before the end zone and roll through for a touchback.
That's got to feel good there. Just to get a nice boot on it as you come back. Now you're able to take a little momentum into the next game.
So Apprentice will make a change at quarterback. Now Kendrick Overton will come in. He threw that double pass that was incomplete back in the first quarter, which could have been a big play for the Builders. Got a little time at wide receiver. 5'9" freshman from Suffolk, Virginia. We'll get some action here. Grant Swanger, 19 of 33 through the air for 338 yards and 3 touchdowns through 2 interceptions. I should say 3 interceptions. He got sacked a couple of times.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly the score is lopsided at this point in the game, but there really were junctures where the Builders were very much in it. Started this half, it was a 6-point game. There were multiple moments where it felt like they could have busted big plays, just a couple of errors on execution. You got the blocked punt, you got some of the penalties. The stuff just really adds up, and it feels like if the Builders had been able to maybe just play a slightly cleaner game, we could have had a much closer scoreline here going into the fourth.
So Washington Lee rotating in a couple different guys. Israel Rivers trying to get into the mix a little early off the edge that time. And this one is fluttered to the near side over the hands of Rios and incomplete.
And judging by Rios' reaction there, he's maybe ready to move on to the next game.
So Washington and Lee has been in full control here in the second half. They have just been able to manufacture points. A touchdown on all 4 drives of the second half thus far. Third down, Overton looking for the deep shot, and there's just nobody home.
Joyner trying to run under that one himself, overthrown by about 10 yards.
And last drive by the Generals kick-started the second turnover of the half by the Builders. They won't give Al O'Malley credit for the interception. They'll say it was a catch, then a fumble by the receiver and Taylor, which he did catch the ball, and the hit of Todd forced the ball to come loose. And so essentially the fumble recovery goes to O'Malley because the ball never hit the ground. So it benefits both Todd with the forced fumble, O'Malley with the fumble recovery. It still results in a turnover. Apprentice to punt this away on 4th and 10, and this is not a good one. Feeling it off the second bounce, though, is Joseph Pizzo. And he brings it across midfield. They gave the sign for things to go off, and then flags fly behind the play. A couple of helmets came off, including one for the Builders. 13:46 left here. Washington and Lee in a rout, 54-21.
Offenses look good today. Been able to execute really when they've needed to, have benefited from some good field position. Just felt like the holes have really been there. I felt like the running game's always been able to be pretty steady throughout this game, and a couple of just big plays on play action as well. Just kind of the perfectly executed game plan for what this offense wants to do.
49 offensive plays for the Generals, 424 yards of total offense. They ran a bunch of plays last week, ran over 60 plays last week, had 460 yards of offense, 340 on the ground, 120 through the air. Today the split is 316 yards on the ground, 108 through the air. And that penalty 15-yard penalty against Washington and Lee will force them back to their side of midfield. 1st and 10 from the 38. Gallimore still in the game at quarterback. Schoenberg is marching ahead, and he gets 8 yards on 1st and 10.
Brought down the play by number 77, Sidney Coleman.
Generals have done a good job of spreading the ball around as well. No player has more than 12 carries, and that's Anthony Crawford. Jacob Romero has a team best 113 yards and 11 carries and a touchdown, and we have not seen him in a few drives. Schoenberg is met in the backfield that time for a 3-yard loss, as Rochard Phipps comes through, and another offensive lineman down for the Generals, and that's number 74, Colton Ballman.
And we talked about coming into this game, the depth the Generals have in that offensive line position, but had Michael Dangler go down a little bit earlier with what looked to be an ankle injury. Not totally sure yet what Colton has going on here either, but definitely a couple of decently valuable pieces, and you never really want to lose them this late in a game.
So Ballman getting some work done by the athletic training staff, the sophomore from Dublin, Ohio. So a really good contributor last year on the offensive line for the Generals, especially with some of the injuries Washington Lee had throughout the year in his first year. Both him and Wesley Howenstein, 2 first years last year, made a difference on the line. This year, both of them getting some action in each game of the season. He's helped off is Ballman, walking slowly to the sideline as Tyler Holliday and Kalen Graham help him off.
Good to see he can put a little weight on the foot, looks like.
For WNL, it's at this point just trying to keep guys healthy as they rotate in a lot of extra guys along the offensive line. Some reserves at the skill positions as well. Just try and preserve as many people as you can. The big matchup on the docket next Saturday against the Tigers of Trinity in Texas. The Generals will be in San Antonio as Michael Schoenberg has room to run. A flag came down on a block on the outside, but Schoenberg with another big chunk play on offense.
And the Generals are walking back. Flag flew downfield. See what exactly it was. Possibly a hold on Duggins maybe on the outside.
It really sealed the edge and opened up that hole for Schoenberg to run, and this one will need some sorting out. And you can see Coach LaRose animated on the sideline, just telling Duggins to keep the hands in the middle, not on the outside, lock him up in the chest.
Hands inside, that's what you'll hear just about any football practice you go to.
There's a carry for number 17, Carter Shallcross. First year from Summit, New Jersey, getting a touch, and now we have an apprentice player down. Andrew, I know we talked about it before, but I think it bears repeating of what the apprentice school is and what do the players for the Builders do on a daily basis. Well, the apprentice school has been around since 1919, so over 100 years in the Newport News area, and they are a shipbuilding basically factory. They have 3 principles going to the apprentice school: craftsmanship, scholarship, leadership. You become a craftsman doing a minimum of 7,000 hours of on-the-job training, one of their 19 shipbuilding disciplines. You establish A strong educational foundation of 1,000 hours of academic and trade theory courses and on-the-job training and leadership emerge as one of the next generation of shipbuilding leaders poised to innovate and anticipate in response to customer needs. And more specifically, a lot of the ships that are worked on at the Apprentice School are contracted through the United States Navy. So these players on the field are working on ships like aircraft carriers and submarines and doing things to help our country in a different sense. Because you always, when you think of, obviously some of the military, you think of the Navy, you think of the actual on-the-job training of being in the Navy. But where do those ships come from? It's places like the Apprentice School in Newport News that actually do the shipbuilding itself of creating the things that help to protect and defend our country in different ways. So a very unique postgraduate lifestyle for these builders, as a second and short run for the Generals gets a first down.
Yeah, just an unbelievable amount of respect for what these guys do. And you're looking at the different trades. It's hard work. Can't even imagine the hours they're putting in with football on top of it. At least in my experience, hard enough to have 3 classes in a row and go to practice and be focused, which hardly compares to what a lot of these guys are doing on a day in and day out basis. So just some really impressive stuff.
Yeah, from anything from an electrician to a heavy metal fabricator to a machinist, a millwright, a molder, pipe fitter, pattern maker, rigger, sheet metal worker. Gallimore with a fake out. Well, bring it ahead for 5 yards as his helmet pops off, and that's a flag flying. You could be a welder, a ship fitter, some real manual labor. I'm talking to a couple people about Apprentice School before the game. A 7 to 3:30 shift of working your trade and learning on what you are, apprenticing in. You get an hour off, football practice from 4:30 to 6:30, and do that 5 days a week.
Yeah, and anyone who's played football before knows that hour off is not an hour off. You got to be in the locker room, getting taped up, getting ready to go, just putting the equipment on. So, you're going straight from working a full-time day of work, straight to football practice, got work after that. It's just very impressive, like I said, and just a ton of respect for these guys. And if you've ever been down in the Norfolk area and have an idea of just how big these kind of boats can be, pretty unbelievable.
The Generals will get another offensive touchdown, as that's the first for Dominic Hahn of his college career. The first year from Haddonfield, New Jersey, gets the sweep and brings it in for 18 yards out.
It kind of just keeps slithering, hits the next hole, and then he's in the end zone. Watch him here, just the patience continues to move and follow his blockers. Just some great maturity and patience there from the freshman runner.
Fernandez out for the point after. 9th Washington lead touchdown today. 6th rushing touchdown for the Generals, as Fernandez knocks this through with ease. And it is now a 40-point game, 61-21, with 10:43 to play here in the 4th.
Nice hold there from Bayshans. The snap again was pretty low on the ground. Good job just to get it up and in the right spot there for Fernandez to execute.
So Washington Lee closing in on 400 rushing yards. They've got 392 on the ground on 50 rushing attempts, which is 7.8 yards per carry. On the flip side, 14 rushes for -6 yards for Apprentice. Obviously, they've thrown for 338, and the Generals only 108, but Washington Lee now 500 yards of offense in 56 plays.
Now, when it's good, it's great for this Generals offense. The offense really didn't look that bad last week either. Able to execute on some big plays, had a lot of decent amount of yards on total offense. I think the biggest difference this week, you're just really getting the defense in order. The defense has been able to give the offense such good field position multiple times. They've been able to force turnovers. Just a really nice, complete team performance here for the Generals, and 61 points to show for it.
Oh, Marcus Gafford. Well, line it up again. Generals crossing over that 60-point plateau. Last year they had 54 against Methodist, which was a season high, and that came in their second game of the year.
And kind of similarly to the feel of that game, it definitely feels good after, a tough week one loss. Obviously all the wins and losses count the same, but when you kind of go through a training camp and you're preparing all with that kind of goal of heading towards week one, win week one, that's all you're really focused on for those 4 or 5 weeks. It kind of loss can really affect a team a little bit more than maybe it really should, and the Generals have not been very good on the first game of the year for the past few seasons, losing to Salisbury last year, Christopher Newport years before that, and so just to be able to come out in the second game, start to really get your feet under you, and really find some rhythm offensively and defensively, definitely feels good.
Ball returned out to the 27-yard line. That's where the Builders take over, 1st and 10. 10:35 to play here in the fourth quarter. The last time Washington Lee scored 60 points was the fall of 2021. On September 18th, 2021 against Guilford in the ODAC opener, the Generals won that game 63-7. Some second effort from Overton, just trying to keep the play alive as he's gobbled up for a 3-yard loss. So it's been 3 years since the Generals last scored 60 points in a game, and that's what they have right now with still 10 minutes to play in the fourth. Talk about some of the different jobs that the Builders have. Al Kendrick Overton, the backup quarterback, learning how to become a heavy metal fabricator.
Can't say I know what that means.
Overton got his target, and that's McKeegan Pierkowski staying on his feet and fighting for extra yardage as he picks up 8 yards, and that will bring up 3rd and short. Pierkowski, an electrician. You know what that means?
I know that job, yeah. Builders got some size on this offense, too. Just kind of looking at Pierkowski right here on the near sideline, standing at 6'5", 205. Well, something I mentioned in the pregame, that there's some guys on this Builders team who have legit size and can make them a really tough opponent because they just sometimes bring more size than you really see at most of the other schools at the Division III level.
Eduardo Rios brings that one in, enough to move the chains, as that's his first catch of the day. The freshman from nearby Newport News. Talk about some of the size they have on that offensive line. A lot of those guys in the offensive line do some of the heaviest work at the shipyard as well. Looking at across their starting offensive line, a couple of welders, a machinist, a pipe fitter, and a heavy metal fabricator. That right there is some hard work.
Yeah, no question about it.
Working 8 hours of hard work and then coming to football practice and trying to move the offensive line a couple hours a day. It will definitely get your fix as this one's incomplete down the far side. Josiah Beecham, the intended target.
Definitely have to have kind of just a different kind of love for the game. They continue to just want to play it at the collegiate level and compete and be out there. And had my 2 years, but definitely fleeting. Definitely a lot of fun to take advantage of. While you got it.
Apprentice went 4-6 last year. Had their most successful year in program history 2 seasons ago. In the 2022 campaign, they won a program record 9 games. They went 9-1. Here's a deep shot down the far side, and Connor Lehman cannot intercept it. He had the positioning defensively, and it fell through his hands.
And you can tell how he feels about that from his reaction, but still a nice play over the top to make sure he was in the right spot.
Entering that 2022 season, went 9-1 with their only loss coming to Bluefield State out of West Virginia. They lost 22-19. They beat Christopher Newport that year. They beat Averett, as well as beating Bridgewater by 10 to close out the season. So very successful campaign 2 seasons ago, went 4-6 last year. Trying to have somewhat similar success this year. Overton escapes the pocket and the pressure and connects with his target in Beecham. And Josiah Beecham putting together a fantastic afternoon. That's now his 7th catch. He's got over 170 yards receiving now and 2 touchdowns.
And hey, with a lot of space still here, if he can grab maybe this next one, try to get to that 200 mark.
Inside of 8 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. The cowbell's still ringing out at Wilson Field. There's a port for the hometown Generals. As this is TK Petty grabbing that through a tight window. Overton really laying it in there. And another first down for the Builders.
Yeah, that was a pretty legit throw right there. Right over the middle. Got to hit the guy on the money in stride, and he does. Looks like the Builders trying to go a little quicker here.
Overton will check the call to the sideline. Colby Messi in at running back now for Apprentice. Overton staying in bounds is Rios, and eventually he'll just step out.
Kind of tried to turn around, see if he could find some space back on the inside, and nothing doing.
Beecham up to the, as we mentioned, 7 catches, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Last week, the Builders had TK Petty tie the single-game record for touchdowns, which has been done 5 times in Apprentice football history. That's 3 touchdowns in the game. Receiving, we'll see. Perhaps they try and get Beecham the ball a little bit more. Close in on the single-game yards record and try and match that touchdown mark as well as Pierikowski makes another catch. Third and just about 2. 6 minutes left in the fourth. And a 40-point game. Washington Lee has looked in control throughout. Overton calls his own number and finds a clear path to the end zone for a Builders touchdown. Now Kendrick Overton rushes it in.
Take a look at the replay here. Just kind of quarterback keeper bounces up the middle, sees that he has some space to the outside, and able to just slip on through for a nice gain and a touchdown there.
One player late getting to the line there for the Builders. The play clock winding down. Logan Eastman gets this one through. Good hustle off the line. A chance at trying to block that kick, but Eastman remains a perfect 4 for 4 today and 9 for 9 on the season in extra points, as it's 61-28.
Especially with the college spot on those point after attempts, you really want to be knocking those through at a good rate.
Generals in line to perhaps get the football back here yet again, and said we've been waiting for one of those patented Washington Lee drives. This seems like right around the time where if Washington Lee can kind of keep control of this ball, they can really ice this one out and not give another possession. They just pick up a couple of first downs.
Think they give a go on an onside here, Ryan?
Would be good practice. Just doesn't seem like be a reason to try and ruin what would be a good game plan when you might want to use it.
Absolutely.
Don't want to put that on tape for anyone else to see. Instead, Eastman will boot it away. Connor Lehman grabs it at the 12. Lehman, and he is tackled just past the 35-yard line. Had his feet cut out from underneath of him. And then the rest of the tackle is he'll make his way off.
Yeah, coming up from that one a little gimpy, but You know you're doing pretty well as a returner if no one's really even getting that excited for a return that's nearing the 40-yard line. You know, that's just kind of the expectation when it comes to a returner like Connor Lehman. Bringing this one all the way to the 37.
And we get a timeout by the Apprentice school.
Timeout, Builders. Their final of the game.
That'll be their final timeout. You got Andrew Bland in at quarterback here for the Generals. Going down to our third quarterback option is Washington and Lee. As him and both in Bayshans look to be potentially getting some work. Quarterback room, definitely not the deepest position here at Washington and Lee as the roster is currently constructed. The Generals lost a few different quarterbacks from last year to this year. The injury and graduation and the like. So it's definitely a place where you'd like to build up a little bit more depth. We haven't seen Ty Collins since early in that third quarter. We saw a lot of Ian Gallimore, who was the Generals' primary backup, and now at this point with a 30-point game and 5.5 minutes left, you don't want to take any chances as get one of your top two options even a little bit banged up. So go further down the depth chart, and Andrew Bland, who's been serving as the Generals' wide receiver the last couple of years, will get some time in at quarterback.
Yeah, it's kind of a different situation than the Generals are used to. Generally, it's how, we have too many quarterbacks. Got to transition them into more of a running back, slot back, wide receiver in Andrew Bland's case. And
Michael Schoenberg gets the handoff. Can he keep it going? And no, he is tripped up that time by Marty Braxton.
Oh, man, he's going to be hearing about that. What a run, but getting caught. Oh,
had a chance at what would have been a 63-yard touchdown. The longest play from scrimmage today from the Generals, a Jacob Romero 64-yard score. And instead, Schoenberg is tripped up inside the 10, so it'll bring up first and goal.
Call his number again here. Oh, looks like he's getting a rest, actually.
They'll push Carter Shallcross in at running back to the left of Andrew Bland. Bayshans on the sweep. And he's tackled to the ground at the 5-yard line.
Solid run there. But as I was saying, historically, the Generals will have to kind of convert quarterbacks out of their position when they recruit. So often some of the guys they're getting at the quarterback position play that position in high school because of their athleticism. And then once they get to the college level, it's kind of finding the best place to fit that athleticism, be it still throwing the ball or running the ball or what have you. Like you said, a couple of injuries and graduations, and it's a little different.
And Carter Shallcross scores his first collegiate touchdown as Washington Lee just keeps adding to their lead, their 10th score of the day.
Yeah, no real opportunity for that long drive when you're just busting big plays like the Generals have been today. So we take another look at the touchdown here.
Pretty much untouched through the hole that time. 455 yards of rushing for Washington and Lee. Fernandez's kick is good. So Washington Lee leads by 40, 68-28.
Kind of just one of those bury the tape games, unfortunately, for the Apprentice school. Gotta just kind of look forward. Won't have their bye week for another 5 games, excuse me. So definitely a pretty tough grind to start the season for the Builders. As they'll move on to face Thaddeus Stevens Tech next week at 2 o'clock.
Washington and Lee just continuing to find different guys to score. It's the 8th different player with a touchdown today for Washington and Lee. Their 10 scores. The only players with multiple touchdowns Anthony Crawford with 2 rushing touchdowns. Marcus Payne, 1 rushing touchdown. And then the blocked punt return for a touchdown. Marcus Gafford ready to knock it away. Just like his last one, this one will go out for a touchback. So Gafford finding a little something on the kickoffs to perhaps carry forward with him.
Yeah, that's a kick there. That was 5 yards deep into the end zone by the time it fell. Really got under it, caught a hold of it. You're just getting able to see what he can do. And a lot of nice leg talent there.
And then a random flag dropping in behind the play. This will draw a conversation.
A lot of conversations today.
Definitely been some penalties. 13 against the Apprentice School, 8 against the Generals. So 21 combined penalties thus far. And that's unsportsmanlike against the Builders. So that'll push him back. And it should bring it all the way back to the 20. Make that the 10-yard line, I should say. And that the ball would have been placed at the 25. But it's a half the distance to the goal, so put it down at the 12 and a half. And that's a false start. Full head of steam that time for Josiah Beecham. Wanted to get going on that route down the far side of the field. And it'll only back up the Builders even further.
Can't imagine this is a pass play.
They've been very much willing to air it out. Have the Builders thus far. Overton will just hand off. And only a couple of yards of forward momentum that time. Number 23, Colby Messi. So 4 yards that time on first down, and Builders just trying to work through this one. Overton into a lot of people in the middle, and a couple of Generals bumping into each other as Steve Tricana a little slow to get back up to his feet.
Number 24, Cooper Taylor on the defense. Third down and 11 now for the Builders.
3rd and 11 upcoming here for Apprentice. Pushed deep back in their own end. And a false start yet again on Beecham starting early. Just wants to get that good jump off the line on the outside and get a good step on the defender.
No false steps, just trying to go forward.
He's had a good receiving day, 7 for 176 and 2 touchdowns, but a couple of penalties only helped to back up the Builders deep in their own end. Overton has to step forward, and a host of Generals come in to tackle him. Some good pressure from the defensive line, and the linebackers by J.D. Matson helped to knock him over. And here comes the punting unit. Joseph Pizzo back around midfield for the Generals. They'll keep the rest of the defense out there. Apprentice still needs another player to get on the field. And they're going to try and hustle this up. They got 4 seconds left on the play clock. They're just going to snap it. Didn't seem like many people were ready. And Eastman will knock it away to Pizzo. And Pizzo, after about 10 yards, will have the Generals take over at the 32-yard line of Apprentice.
Probably the best looking punt of the day. Had some good hang time on it. Pretty good distance.
Also seemed like maybe the one that the least people were ready for, defensively and offensively.
Kind of just had to go for it there. And
had no timeouts left. We're up against the play clock winding down. They are already inside, right around their own 10-yard line. It's hard to take another penalty. Just rush it away and make it happen.
The Generals are a first down away from being able to seal this one up here.
Again, more discussions from the guys in stripes. Illegal shift against the kicking team. And penalties declined.
Like you said, no one really set. Kind of a late substitution messing everything up there. Tough day for the punting unit, top to bottom.
Now we know it's dominated special teams. That is the easiest way to describe it. And now we're going to walk the ball all the way ahead. So the illegal shift was declined, but there must have been a personal foul because we just marched the ball 15 yards ahead. The communication from the refs to the press box has not been the best. So now the Generals, instead of having 1st and 10 from the 32, will have 1st and 10 from the Apprentice red zone. So after that punt, a net change of about 6 yards is all that really comes about after the nice return and the 15-yard penalty. Michael Schoenberg gets the carry and is tackled at the 8-yard line after a gain of 9. And Schoenberg now has the most rushing yards of any player for Washington and Lee. He's got 122 yards on 9 carries.
Pretty efficient day.
And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. So 2nd and short upcoming for Washington Lee. A 2-minute warning as the Generals lead by 40. 68-28 over the Apprentice School. And Andrew Arnold here with me as I'm Ryan Connell. And Andrew, Generals, big bounce back here in their home opener. Young Alumni Weekend, going to walk away with quite a sizable win to their name. But it's quick turnaround. They got to fly to Texas and play Trinity, a team that has started the season preseason ranked, lost the first week of the season, but is definitely a team with a lot of talent and a high skill level. The Generals get to go on a road trip to Texas next week. Before then, they kick off ODAC play in 3 weeks here at home against Averett on October 5th. So your last chance to really see the Generals in non-conference action and really try and get things right before they hit the conference schedule. They get to go and fly to Texas.
Yeah, pretty cool experience. Definitely wish it had maybe been a year earlier. It would have been pretty cool to kind of take that trip out there and kind of just see how the Generals stack up against a very different opponent. The kind of the way Division III football is, there's definitely some powerhouse schools kind of in Ohio, and you think also about kind of Texas as some of the big places where you see some of these top Division III collegiate football teams. So it'll be a really great opportunity for the Generals to get out there, see how they stack up, and just kind of a great opportunity to go compete in a really different environment and a cool experience. Definitely different seeing the Central Time on our schedule there. So hope the guys enjoy that. And
Pizzo on the sweep, and he's met for a 2-yard loss. It's a noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern first kick. It's also 11 a.m. Mountain Time and 10 Pacific if we really want to get specific here. We know there's players on this WNL roster that are from different parts of the country, and especially for the number of guys not only on the team but number of students from Texas that make it to Washington and Lee and go to school here. It's definitely nice to have a return trip for them back to their home state.
Yeah, definitely a large Texas contingent going to school here, both on the team and off.
3rd and goal from the 5. Schoenberg gets it ahead and right at the marker. That's enough for a first down, which will set up 1st and goal. And all the Generals can really do at this point is take a couple of knees, and this one is over. Perhaps only one knee is going to be needed.
I can let this play clock run down, and one knee should do the trick.
So a trip to San Antonio on the horizon for Washington Lee. A big win on Young Alumni Weekend. Generals score 10 times as they beat the Newport News Apprentice School, a final of 68-28 as the Generals win by 40. And a just dominating performance from start to finish.
Yeah, very exciting game here for the Generals. Executed in every phase of the game. Lots to be proud of. Got a ton of different guys, some playing time. Got to see some different looks for some more freshmen. Got some first career touchdowns. Just a whole ton to celebrate here on a Young Alumni Weekend. Exactly the kind of win you want. Exactly the kind of game you want if you're on the Generals side. And definitely kind of a get-right spot. Able to take some momentum going in to Texas next week.
First time the Generals scored over 60 points since 2021. And the Generals put up 68, which is definitely the most in the last 10 seasons for Washington and Lee. It's going to take a couple looks at the record books to see how many other times the Generals have scored this many points in a game. As the Generals put up a big offensive day. They got 9 offensive touchdowns, the 1 special teams touchdown as well. And they win it 68-28, the final. Some statistical leaders from today's game. Ty Collins, the starting quarterback for Washington Lee, just 3 for 5 at 108 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a very efficient day for him. Michael Schoenberg actually ended up as the Generals' leading rusher. 10 carries for 126 and a touchdown. Jacob Romero, 11 carries, 113 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Crawford rushed for 2 scores. Carter Shallcross, Dominic Hahn, Marcus Payne all had touchdowns on the ground. Fidel Small and Teddy Sparrow caught the 2 touchdowns that Collins threw, and Payne had that punt return for a touchdown. As for Apprentice, 19 of 33 for 3 touchdowns, 338 yards, and a couple of interceptions for Grant Swanger. Not much of a running game at all for Apprentice, just 15 total rushing yards on 18 carries for the Builders. But the best individual receiving day goes to Josiah Beecham. 7 catches, $176, and 2 touchdowns for Josiah Beecham in a losing effort for Apprentice. But the Generals just under 600 yards of offense, 465 on the ground, and just a typical Washington and Lee day where the running attack was in full force, averaging 8.3 yards per carry.
Yeah, biggest takeaways for me watching this game is this offense can be explosive. I mean, they're capable of big plays on really any given down, and I think that play action, the way newly minted offensive coordinator Matt Raposa, the way he's using that play action, I think was really, really nice today. You know, I have to think the teams are going to be looking out for that a little more going forward now that you put it on film, but I think it was just a very well-timed kind of use of the pass play today, because it felt like every time they were passing the ball, it was somebody was at least open, and more often than not, they were able to execute. And it feels like as long as the Generals can get pressure on the quarterback on defense, it seems to solve a lot of problems for him. So really just keys to victory are continuing to let your playmakers on offense get into open space, let them be explosive, and then just get to the quarterback on defense. And this team has a very bright outlook for the rest of their season.
So Washington and Lee winners here on Young Alumni Weekend by a final of 68-28 over the Newport News Apprentice School. The Generals will be next in action next Saturday in San Antonio, Texas, when they play the Tigers of Trinity. That is a 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central Time kick from Texas, as the Generals look to get to 2-1 as they take on one of the top programs in Division III football. They'll then return home. They'll have the bye week, the last week of September, and start Old Dominion Athletic Conference play on Saturday, October 5th, as part of Parents Weekend here at Washington Lee, as a 5 o'clock kickoff against the Cougars of Averett University, and then the weekend after we'll play at home against Hampton-Sydney as part of WNL Athletics Hall of Fame weekend. So some home football coming up over the next couple of weeks here for Washington Lee. They get their first win in 2024, dominating fashion over the Apprentice School, 68-28 the final. For Andrew Arnold, I'm Ryan Connell. For all of us here at the Washington Lee Sports Network, we say thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you on October 5th when the Generals open up ODAC play.